Chapter 1. Super Dimension Crossing System starts current world, Ghost Slayer Blade World Opening Reward Distribution, Ghost Slaying Knife /1, Ghost God Devourer Sign to obtain the Ghost God Devourer. Ghost God Devourer, those who have this ability can nourish the contract ghosts and gods by devouring ghosts, so that the holder can borrow more powerful ghost and god power in the hands of the ghosts and gods. Current Ghost God Devourer level, F level core mission release, help you bean. Turn into a human again. Note, the death of the mission target will be regarded as a mission failure. Mission completion reward, get the permanent right to use the super dimensional crossing system, get 1% of the power of the meta wall, and unlock the next dimensional world. Mission failure punishment, this dimensional crossing will end immediately, and the system will humane the host. Dense and fast mechanical sounds entered Bayu's mind, and just before Bayu could figure out what the situation was, Bayu's whole person fell into the snow. Fortunately, the place where the white feather fell was soft snow, otherwise this time, it would be enough to choke. Bayu turned over and stood up sharply from the snow, and he suddenly jerked out of thin clothes, and then a sneeze came out. What's going on here? Is this heaven? What's going on with the voice in your head just now? Bayu looked around a little confused and muttered. Ghost Slayer Blade World? Could it be that alien world where people and ghosts coexist and ghosts eat people? Isn't that an anime? Bayu suddenly felt a heart palpitation, and he actually accidentally crossed into the dimensional world of anime. Shiraba, an anime fan who has watched this anime, knows that there is a ghost king named Oni Maisujiwu miserable in this world. This guy has the ability to turn humans into ghosts, and anyone stained with his blood will immediately become a man-eating ghost, completely falling into the ghost path and letting him send. It was really a trick, but I didn't expect to get a new life again. Just as Bayu was thinking about what was going on, a flash of light suddenly flashed above Bayu's head, and a black-purple ghost-slashing knife cut through the air, and a burst of breaking sounds fell. Feeling the cold white feather above his head, he looked up sharply, and then his body subconsciously took a few steps back, because the white feather was in the thick snow, so while retreating, the focus was unstable, and as a result, he sat on the ground. The next moment, the ghost-slashing knife was inserted into the snow in front of Bayu's crotch, which scared Bayu's whole person into a cold sweat. Oops, I'll go. Almost became a father-in-law, Bayu secretly sighed. Current main mission release, prevent Tomioka Yoshiyuki from killing your bean. Mission failure punishment, this dimensional crossing will end immediately, and the system will humanely deal with the host. Mission completion reward, get the water breath breathing method, proficient, mission-related character introduction. Tomioka Yoshiyuki, one of the 9 pillars of the ghost killing team, the descendant of the water breath genre, super strength Bean, an innocent girl who became a ghost because of the blood of Ghost Maisuji. As the broadcast of the superdimensional traversal system came to his mind again, Bayu looked at the ghost-slashing knife in front of his crotch. And Bayu sorted out his thoughts little by little, and then gradually reacted. Bayu, who had completely reacted, stood up abruptly, and then held the ghost-slashing knife in his hand. At this time, Bayu had noticed that a small map appeared in his field of vision, and below the minimap, there was a countdown time. Time passed by second, and soon there were only 3 minutes. Bayu, who knew that there was not much time, after secretly scolding in his heart, he didn't think much about it anymore, and solved this time-limited task first. Immediately, Bayu rushed towards the location of this mission according to the map prompt of the superdimensional traversal system. Not long after running, Bayu's breathing was a little unable to keep up with the rhythm, and he was panting very heavily. Just when Bayu became uncomfortable, dark purple, tattoo-like patterns began to appear on Bayu's body, and the most obvious place was Bayu's right hand holding the ghost-slashing knife. Chapter 2. At first glance, Bayu's right hand can already be said to be not a normal human hand, but like a monster's hand, especially at the knuckles of the fingers. Sharp outer bones appeared. Then, the skin of Bayu's right hand became red, and the dark purple lines were printed on the red skin, which looked extremely strange. And Baiyu's face also has dark purple lines, and the originally normal eyes have also changed, the whites of the eyes have become black, and the black pupils have turned purple. Even the originally black hair turned purple in an instant. Baiyu naturally couldn't see the changes on his face, and the most intuitive thing he could see was the changes on his right hand. As this change was completed, a purple mist gathered behind Baiyu, closely following Baiyu. And Baiyu felt as if his body had a very powerful force, and in the next second, Baiyu's speed increased by several levels, and the whole person turned into a purple lightning bolt shuttling through this white snowy mountain. Is this the additional ability of the ghost god devourer? Baiyu secretly sighed in his heart, this is simply a plug-in existence. I know that if I had come half a day earlier, your family might not have died. However, there is no way to reverse time. Wake up. Let this strong and pure anger become a firm driving force to make you stronger. Relying only on your fragile heart, you can't protect or cure your sister, let alone avenge your family. As Tomioka Yoshiyuki looked at Tanjiro and sighed secretly in his heart, the Nikki knife in Tomioka Yoshiyuki's hand was slowly raised. Tanjiro, who was kneeling in the snow, saw Tomioka Yoshiyuki's actions and knew that he wanted to kill his sister Yudoko, and Tanjiro immediately became extremely nervous. And Tomioka Yoshiyuki did not care about Tanjiro's emotions, but in the next second, he inserted the Nikawa knife in his hand into the chest of Yuduza, who was pinched in his hand. Don't, stop. Tanjiro's whole person immediately cried out, and at the same time, Tanjiro's body also reacted, picked up the stone in the snow and threw it at Tomioka Yoshiyuki. Tomioka Yoshiyuki's backhand blocked Tanjiro's stone attack with the hilt, and in an instant, Tomioka Yoshiyuki's pupils shrank sharply, his face changed abruptly, and the sudden change made Tomioka Yoshiyuki startled. What surprised Tomioka Yoshiyuki was not the stone thrown by Tanjiro, but the white feather who arrived at the critical moment. Baiyu, who appeared at the critical moment, was extremely decisive. After all, with the blessing of the ghost god devourer, even if he can't kill this Tomioka Yoshiyuki, there should be no problem in stopping him from killing Yubin. Coupled with their own surprise attack, the success rate will definitely not be low. Tanjiro was also stunned by this sudden change, and he froze in place, who was originally planning to take the opportunity to pick up the axe and fight Tomioka Yoshiyuki. At this time, the ghost-slashing knife in Baiyu's hand was falling on Tomioka Yoshiyuki's Nikwe knife, and the two weapon blades met each other, and suddenly a lot of sparks were wiped out. Tanjiro looked at the very strange-looking white feather, and immediately carefully sniffed it with his nose, and under Tanjiro's careful identification, Tanjiro did not smell the ghost that killed his family on Baiyu. This disappointed Tanjiro, who thought that Hakuba might have killed his own family. Chapter 3. Tomioka Yoshiyuki's eyes also hit Baiyu's body. Looking at the extremely enchanting Baiyu, Tomioka Yoshiyuki also subconsciously regarded Baiyu as ghost. And Baiyu naturally does not know that he is regarded as a ghost by Tomioka Yoshiyuki, and there is only one thing Baiyu has to do at the moment, that is, to save Yubin under Tomioka Yoshiyuki, because the life and death of Yubin is also related to Baiyu's life. Although Baiyu had already realized his life before, Baiyu did not want to be inexplicably dealt with humanely by the so-called system. Even if you want to die, you have to die clearly. How can you decently leave a whole corpse for your family, die in this exotic world? Baiyu is not willing. You can't move this Nizai. Baiyu said to Tomioka Yoshiyuki in a cold voice. Tomioka Yoshiyuki also looked at Baiyu coldly and asked, "Did Oni Maisuji send you here?" Hearing this, Baiyu naturally can't understand what Tomioka Yoshiyuki said. He is a trans-dimensional traverser. How can he be someone else's little brother? I'm just a passing ghost slayer. In short, you can't kill this Nizai. Baiyu took care of himself and installed himself as a kind ghost slayer. As soon as Baiyu's words fell, Tomioka Yoshiyuki launched the sword technique of the water breath genre, and instantly slashed down towards Baiyu's ghost slashing knife with a horizontal slash. Baiyu's whole person was repelled and slid back for several meters, and the repelled Baiyu did not immediately attack, because Baiyu felt that Tomioka Yoshiyuki's killing intent temporarily subsided. Obviously his words attracted Tomioka Yoshiyuki's attention. Ghost cutter? You're not a ghost? Are you also here to hunt ghosts? Tomioka Yoshiyuki also heard of the title of Ghost Slayer for the first time, and from a literal point of view, it should be similar to the meaning of ghost hunter. It's just that Tomioka Yoshiyuki has never seen such a strange ghost hunter, and this look is really impossible to treat as a normal human. As one of the 9 pillars of the ghost killing team, Tomioka Yoshiyuki is naturally familiar with ghosts after dealing with ghosts for many years. Therefore, without confirming whether Baiyu's words were true or false, Tomioka Yoshiyuki had already analyzed and compared the breath on Baiyu's body. The result really surprised Tomioka. The breath on Baiyu's body was not the breath of a ghost, but an aura that he had never touched. Ghost? I'm not that kind of man-eating monster. I'm just a kind person passing by. Baiyu said with a contemptuous smile. After speaking, Baiyu looked at Tomioka Yoshiyuki, seeing that he was still very cautious. Baiyu continued, "Ghosts are afraid of the sun, whether I am a ghost, and wait for the opportunity to verify. Now all you have to do is let go of that Nico in your hand to have a way of life. Since you are a ghost killer, you should know the danger of ghosts. If I release her, it will be to let more innocent people be harmed." Tomioka reminded Baiyu with righteous words. "My sister won't eat people, I promise. You have to trust me." Tanjiro assured his sister at this time, but Tomioka Yoshiyuki only glanced at Tanjiro lightly and ignored Tanjiro. In the end, Tomioka Yoshiyuki turned his attention to Haku, wondering why Haku had to let himself put your beans. Hearing this, Baiyu was silent for a while. For this question, Baiyu did not know how to explain to Tomioka Yoshiyuki. "You can't say that killing her is equivalent to killing me." Chapter 4. She is different from other ghosts. She has the possibility of becoming a human, so you can't kill her. Baiyu explained. Hearing this, Tomioka Yoshiyuki and Tanjiro were both surprised. Of course, the most happy was Tanjiro. After all, Yubin is now her only relative, and Tanjiro naturally wants his sister to become a human again. "Really? Predecessor? Can you really make my sister human?" As if grasping the last straw, Tanjiro couldn't wait to ask. Baiyu did not immediately answer Tanjiro's words. Baiyu's attention was on Tomioka Yoshiyuki. After all, your bean is still in his hand. If one does not pay attention, it is estimated that this guy can really take the opportunity to kill Yubin. On the other hand, Tomioka Yoshiyuki, although Baiyu's words surprised him, but after calming down, he still didn't believe it. If he could really make Ghost become a human, this method, as a ghost killing team that has been fighting with ghosts for hundreds of years, how could he not know? Therefore, Tomioka Yoshiyuki was still skeptical of Baiyu's words, but seeing that Baiyu was so convinced that what he said was the same as the truth, Tomioka Yoshiyuki asked, "Tell me about your method." Hearing this, Baiyu secretly sighed. Tomioka Yoshiyuki, this guy is really difficult. Of course, Baiyu did not know how to turn Ghost into a human, and the reason why Baiyu said this was completely analyzed from the task. Since the task allows you to turn your beans into people, it means that this is not a matter without any methods, and if there is really no way to turn your beans into people, it conflicts with the tasks issued by the system. With such a great system, it is obvious that there will be no such low-level bugs. I'm still studying this, don't worry, with me watching, she will definitely not eat people. If you don't believe it, you will release this Nizai now to see if this Nizai will eat this kid. After all, he also said that his sister would not eat people, just so that this kid could see clearly whether his sister would eat people. If this Nizai makes a move, even if I lose, when the time comes, if you kill this Nizai again, this kid will not be able to refute your wrongness. If this Nico doesn't make a move, then I win, and you have to release this Nizai. Baiyu said calmly, as if everything was in his calculations. Tomioka Yoshiyuki didn't expect Baiyu to play such a gamble with himself, which was really big enough. Just using an innocent person as bait, Tomioka Yoshiyuki always felt a little inhumane. Baiyu knew that Tomioka Yoshiyuki was hesitating, so he turned his focus to Tanjiro and said, "Boy, it's time for you to sacrifice your life heroically. If you believe that your sister will not eat people, agree to this gamble." Tanjiro, who was suddenly named, was stunned for a moment, and immediately agreed to the gamble made by Shiraiha, because Tanjiro believed that his sister would not eat people. "Good. I believe in my seniors and in my sister," Tanjiro said confidently. Seeing that Tanjiro agreed, Haku glanced at Tomioka Yoshiyuki again, and then gave him a relaxed look. However, Tomioka Yoshiyuki still hesitated and did not immediately let go of your bean. "With your ability, are you afraid that you can't save that kid? At most, let that kid learn a lesson." Baiyu spoke up again. This time, Tomioka Yoshiyuki slowly released your bean, and when he was released, your bean suddenly flashed in front of Tanjiro. Seeing this, Tomioka Yoshiyuki and Baiyu couldn't help but get nervous. Both of them were afraid that Yubin would really do something to Tanjiro. Chapter 5. The reason why Baiyu is afraid is that he is afraid that if he loses the gamble, he will fight with Tomioka Yoshiyuki and forcibly rob people. Therefore, Baiyu is always preparing to grab people at any time. Although this is to break one's own word, but compared with one's own life, breaking one's word once is nothing. Anyway, this is not a harmful thing. "Thou Bean, it's me. I'm Tanjiro." Tanjiro faces the hideous bean, without any fear, but tries to awaken the humanity of your bean with words. Yubin looked at Tanjiro for a moment, then turned to look at Tomioka Yoshiyuki and made a threatening gesture at him. Tomioka Yoshiyuki was shocked by Yubin's action to protect Tanjiro, and his heart suddenly trembled. Just when Tomioka Yoshiyuki briefly lost his mind, Yubin launched an attack on Tomioka Yoshiyuki. "Stop, Yubins!" Tanjiro was also taken aback by Yubin's actions, and suddenly shouted. Baiyu didn't expect that Yuduza didn't attack Tanjiro, but actually ran to attack Tomioka Yoshiyuki. This Nico is really not afraid of death. Baiyu was also afraid that things would develop in an uncontrollable direction, so he flashed behind Yubin, and immediately knocked Yubin unconscious with a hand knife. Baiyu smoothly caught the fainted bean, and the soft body couldn't help but make Baiyu stunned. This was the first time Baiyu hugged a girl. Although Yubin is now a female ghost, it does not affect the softness of her body in the slightest. "Tomioka Yoshiyuki, you lost. Remember to keep our bet." Unexpectedly, after Baiyu said this, he felt that his whole body was soft, his eyes were black, and he fainted. Baiyu fainted like this, and the bean that also fainted pressed on Baiyu's body. Tomioka Yoshiyuki didn't expect that Baiyu would actually faint. For this strange guy, Tomioka Yoshiyuki was a little confused. The white feather who fainted on the snow gradually receded and his appearance gradually returned to normal, and Tomioka Yoshiyuki, who saw this change, was a little surprised. He also thought that Baiyu's appearance was exactly like just now, but he didn't expect that it wasn't. Tanjiro didn't expect Baiyu to faint, so he crawled in front of Baiyu and Yubin a little helplessly. At this time, Tomioka Yoshiyuki also walked over, and saw him standing on the side, looking down at the white feathers that were fading their ghosts little by little. When Baiyu's true appearance appeared in front of the two, Tomioka Yoshiyuki and Tanjiro were a little surprised. Baiyu was actually a young man. Looking at this white feather who was similar in age to himself, Tanjiro couldn't help but admire a little. If he hadn't helped him just now, his sister might have ended up somewhat. At this time, Tomioka Yoshiyuki also squatted down, and then carefully checked the white feathers, and checked for a while. Tomioka Yoshiyuki did not check anything abnormal, and the breath was also the breath of humans. The unwilling Tomioka Yoshiyuki first helped Yubin up, and Tanjiro immediately became nervous when he saw this. After all, Tomioka Yoshiyuki was going to kill Yubin before. What do you want to do? Do you want to break your word? Tanjiro questioned. Tomioka Yoshiyuki glanced at Tanjiro lightly, and then said, no. After that, he took care of himself and started his own thing. I saw Tomioka Yoshiyuki cut a bamboo with a Nikawa knife. And then chose a bamboo tube of suitable size to make a muzzle to prevent your bean from biting, and finally Tomioka Yoshiyuki put the muzzle on the mouth of your bean. After doing this, Tomioka Yoshiyuki returned to Bayu's body again, and saw that he quickly swiped on his index finger with a Nikawa knife, and the sharp one easily cut a hole in his index finger, and blood flowed out at once. Chapter 6. I saw Tomioka Yoshiyuki hanging his bloody finger in front of Bayu, and the blood fell on Bayu's mouth because of the action of gravity, and after about tens of milliliters of blood, the blood stopped. Then, Tomioka Yoshiyuki's face became solemn. Will Bayu react to blood in the end? If there is, then Bayu is undoubtedly a ghost, if not, then Bayu is just a relatively special person. Time passed minute by minute, Bayu still didn't react at all, and after confirming Bayu's situation, Tomioka Yoshiyuki was completely relieved. Tanjiro did not come over, but stayed by his sister Yuduza's side. Although he did not step forward to monitor Tomioka's every move, Tanjiro still saw what Tomioka Yoshiyuki was doing. I don't know how long it took, Bayu's screams suddenly broke the tranquility of the snowy mountains, and Tomioka Yoshiyuki suddenly became vigilant. At this time, Bayu-hun's body was in pain, as if the flesh and internal organs on his body were eaten. This made Bayu roll directly in the snow, and in just a few seconds, Bayu fell into a state of rage, and the top on his body was directly torn to pieces by him. The bare upper body was scarlet skin, and it looked like it had just crawled out of blood. Tanjiro was directly frightened by Bayu's situation at this time, and his face showed a scared expression. Tomioka Yoshiyuki has never seen such a situation, and he doesn't know what is going on in his heart. Blood! Bayu roared in a low voice. Hearing this, Tomioka Yoshiyuki was suddenly shocked. Blood! Could it be that the white feather began to ghost? But when? Quick! Give me ghost blood! I want the blood of a ghost! Bayu hid the strong discomfort of his body, and said to Tomioka Yoshiyuki when he still had a trace of sanity. Bayu never expected that this ghost deification would actually have such side effects, and once he used it, he had to nourish the ghosts and gods in his body with the blood of the ghosts. What a pit! Fortunately, it is not to ask for human blood, otherwise, it is estimated that he will really be regarded as a ghost. I don't know if Tomioka Yoshiyuki can understand his own words at a critical time. Little brother, you have to give something hard this time. Otherwise, I'm really going to run away. Ghost blood? Tomioka Yoshiyuki was even more confused. Bayu actually wanted the blood of a ghost. What is this operation? Just as Tomioka Yoshiyuki was wondering, Bayu urged again, hurry. What are you still hesitating about? After that, the furious white feather directly punched the ground, and suddenly the snow flew into the air under the action of the huge force. Seeing this, Tomioka Yoshiyuki also knew that he could not hesitate so much anymore, so he looked at Yubin. After all, here is your bean is a ghost, and the ghost that can give white feather is Yubin. After thinking quickly, Tomioka Yoshiyuki made a decision, grabbed your bean at once, and threw it at Shiraiha. Tomioka Yoshiyuki moved so fast that Tanjiro had no power to stop it, and could only watch his sister being thrown over. Suddenly, Tanjiro tried to run over and snatch the beans back, but he was stopped by Tomioka Yoshiyuki. Now that the situation is unknown, letting Tanjiro pass is the rhythm of sending death. Since this guy won't let me kill your sister, then he won't kill your sister either. Tomioka Yoshiyuki said to Tanjiro. Chapter 7. As soon as your bean was thrown over, Bayu's keen perception noticed it, and I saw Bayu jumping up, and then took your bean, and finally Bayu finally couldn't help but take a bite directly on your bean's neck and planted a strawberry with a scar. Bai did not dare to suck the blood of your beans without restraint. If he directly sucked people to heaven, then he would have to follow the ascension to heaven. With the help of your bean's blood, the white feather gradually improved, and the blood-red skin gradually subsided. Seeing that he was starting to improve, Bai stopped sucking, and when Bai moved his mouth away, Bai saw that Yu Bean didn't know when he woke up, and then looked at himself with a dumbfounded face. Bai was immediately frightened, and immediately pushed away the beans, and then became a little nervous. After a long time, Bai realized that he had made some rude behavior just now, so he coughed a few times and said in a serious tone, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it, and I had to suck your blood. Don't care." After that, Bai then thought that your bean was a ghost, so he magically worshipped your bean. After Bai finished this, Yu Bean still looked at Bai stupidly, like a wooden man. Bai also didn't want to pay attention to Yu Bean for the time being, so he patted his body and stood up. The white feathers who returned to normal, a fierce snort, what a fucking cold. Bare-chested in the snow, white feathers are also the first time. That kid, quickly take off your clothes and dress me. Shiraiha greeted Tanjiro. Now the only person who can be greeted is Tanjiro, and Tomioka Yoshiyuki, the little brother, is taking the high and cold route at a glance, so Bai naturally will not call him at will. Reacting, Tanjiro quickly took off his coat, then ran to Shiraiha, and finally handed the coat to Shiraiha's hand. "Thank you." Bai thanked him simply, then took the clothes and put them on for himself. Watching Bai put on his clothes, Tanjiro couldn't help but look at Yubian on the side. "Is her okay with my sister?" Tanjiro asked Shiraiha. Bai waved his hand and said, "It's okay, just sucked some of her blood, rest assured." Hearing Bai's answer, Tanjiro was finally relieved. At this time, Tomioka Yoshiyuki came over, and then asked Bai as well, "What happened just now? Why do you want ghost blood?" Hearing this, Bai looked at Tomioka Yoshiyuki, and then changed his posture and said, "My body is relatively special, and every time I turn on that state, I need the blood of a ghost. That's why I'm a ghost slayer. What if I didn't get the blood of a ghost? What will happen?" Tomioka Yoshiyuki continued to ask. Bai smiled, and then said, "Will be endlessly tortured by ghosts and gods until death." Hearing this, Tomioka Yoshiyuki really saw that there are such strange people in this world, who live on ghosts. "If you live from ghosts, why save a ghost?" Tomioka asked puzzled. "You can also see that her situation is very special, maybe she can help me get rid of ghosts and gods." Bai found a reason and said. The true meaning of the beans that Bai said can help him get rid of ghosts and gods, in fact, as long as he completes the task, Bai can go to the next world. Because Bai doesn't like the current world very much. Chapter 8. Current main quest, prevent Tomioka Yoshiyuki from killing your bean mission completed. Mission reward is issued, host obtains water breath breathing method, proficient, new mission release, pass the ghost killing team assessment and join the ghost killing team. Ghost killing team, founded by the Izayashiki family, it is an organization specializing in killing ghosts. Mission failure punishment, confiscate the host's mating tools, and the host will lose all mating rights in this world. Mission completion reward, get a time reversal prop, time limit, within 5 minutes. After Bai finished explaining to Tomioka Yoshiyuki, a broadcast prompt from the superdimensional traversal system came to Bai's mind. After knowing the punishment for failing the new mission, Bai suddenly showed a bitter look. If he failed, then he would become a eunuch. Hold the grass, how can this happen? How to say that they are all descendants of Yan Huang? How can there be no ancestral Jack? Besides, Bai doesn't know how long he will stay in this world. If there is no ancestral Jack, then he will not have to die alone. This sad ending is not what Bai wants to see, so this task must also be completed. Tomioka Yoshiyuki naturally didn't know that Bai was complaining about this task in his heart, and after listening to Bai's explanation, he looked at Bai Yu and thought for a while, and finally, as if he had made some decision, he turned his gaze to Tanjiro again and said, "If you want to avenge your family, go and visit an old man named Takizuoji who lives in the foothills of the narrow mist mountain. You told him that Tomioka Yoshiyuki called you here. There is no sunshine now, there should be no problem, remember not to expose your sister to the sun." After Tomioka Yoshiyuki finished speaking, he glanced at Bai Yu again, and with a gust of wind blowing thick snowflakes, Tomioka Yoshiyuki disappeared from everyone's sight, obviously leaving. After Tomioka Yoshiyuki left, Tanjiro came to Shiraiha, and then knelt down. "Thank you, senior, thank you very much." Bai Yu did not feel that there was anything to be thankful for, and the reason why he was like this was naturally not out of kindness, but because of the task of the system. After all, Shiraiha didn't know Tanjiro and Yudoko, so he didn't have any feelings for their two siblings. "There's nothing to thank, your sister is just important to me, so she can't die, it's as simple as that," Bai Yu said slowly. "Is it true that what the senior said can make my sister human?" Tanjiro asked. Bai Yu pondered for a while, and then said, "Well, it takes time. Before you find a way, you'd better be able to become as powerful as that guy just now, otherwise I may not be able to protect you while protecting your sister. If you die, you won't see when your sister becomes a human." Hearing this, the clever Tanjiro naturally understood Bai Yu's words, and when Shiro was in a coma, Tanjiro also talked to Tomioka Yoshiyuki. The words of Shiraiha and Tomioka Yoshiyuki made Tanjiro firm his determination to become stronger. "Then what are the senior's plans next?" Tanjiro asked again, and the question was also a manifestation of Tanjiro's use of Hakuba as the backbone of his heart. Bai Yu scratched his head before saying, "Plans? Let's talk about your plans first." "I'm going to the narrow fog mountain to find Takizo's junior senior and learn the skills," Tanjiro said firmly. Chapter 9. "That's exactly together," Bai Yu replied. "Really? Predecessor? That, take care of me more in the future, my name is Tanjiro Stove, and the senior calls me Tanjiro." Tanjiro obviously didn't expect that Haku would actually join him, which made Tanjiro somewhat excited. With Bai Yu's joining, that sister Yubin will be much safer. "White feather." Bai Yu looked at Tanjiro and replied lightly. After that, Hakuha accompanied Tanjiro and found a place to bury his dead family. Tanjiro took the beans to worship simply, and Haku waited quietly in the distance, not disturbing the Tanjiro brothers and sisters. Tanjiro's family is very ordinary. His father died early due to physical reasons when Tanjiro was young, and the family is supported by his mother and eldest son, Tanjiro. But now such an ordinary family is shattered in an instant, and Tanjiro's only surviving sister has also become a ghost. Although your beans will not actively eat people now, it cannot change the fact that your beans have become ghosts. These things are all about the kind-hearted Tanjiro, and when Shirajiro helps him dig his grave, Tanjiro takes the initiative to tell Shiraiha. Shiraiha didn't talk too much about his family with Tanjiro, but just silently listened to him recount the fond memories in his heart. After doing this, Tanjiro pulled his sister to Bai Yu, and Tanjiro carefully looked at this white feather wearing his father's clothes, and couldn't help but feel a feeling, and then said, "Senior Bai Yu, you really look like my father." Hearing this, Bai Yu was suddenly taken aback, and then said angrily, "Tanjiro, what are you talking about?" Tanjiro was amused, and then explained, "You are wearing the clothes of your father, so I feel that my father is alive again. Can't you find me other clothes?" Bai Yu looked his clothes up and down, and couldn't wait to take them off now. However, thinking that this is not good, Bai Yu has no way. "My clothes are too small, let alone my brother's clothes, which is suitable for you." "How? Senior Bai Yu, are you disgusting my father's clothes?" Tanjiro continued. Bai Yu, who knew that there was no way to change his clothes, could only stop forcing it. After all, in this snowy mountain, he couldn't take off the cold. Seeing that Tanjiro misunderstood his dislike, Shiraiha explained, don't dislike, it's just your father's clothes, it's not always good to wear me. Tanjiro thought about it, and also felt that something was wrong, so he said, there are really no other clothes at home, I'll think of a way when I go outside. Baiyu didn't want to get entangled in this either, so he urged, let's go quickly after the matter is done. After that, the two of them embarked on a journey to the narrow mist mountain to find Takizuoji. In order to be able to travel during the day, Tanjiro went to a nearby villager to get a bamboo basket. Senior, I'm back. Tanjiro returned to the place where Shirajiro and Yubin rested, and Baiyu was sitting cross-legged outside a cave at this time, and when he saw Tanjiro returning, he just replied faintly, come back. Tanjiro nodded, and Baiyu glanced at the somewhat leaky bamboo basket that Tanjiro got back, and said, Tanjiro, this bamboo basket is not very good. It's all leaking. Ghosts don't like sunlight very much. Chapter 10. Hearing this, Tanjiro carefully looked at the bamboo basket, and then said, Senior, you wait. With that, Tanjiro began to transform the bamboo basket. Baiyu quietly looked at Tanjiro on the side. For this kind of manual work, Baiyu naturally did not know, because Baiyu was not a person of that era. After the transformation, the airtightness of the bamboo basket is much better, and the sunlight basically does not shine in, so it is good to cover the outside with a cloth. Tanjiro took the transformed bamboo basket into the cave, and after loading your beans into the bamboo basket, Shiraiha, Tanjiro, and Yubins, the two of them headed towards Mt. Sawu again. At night, Hakuba, Tanjiro, and Yubin, who had already been able to move out of the bamboo basket, came to a Buddhist hall. Senior, there is a Buddhist hall, you can still see the lights, someone should be there, let's go and see. Tanjiro said to Shiraiha. Baiyu naturally had no opinion, after all, at night, there was just a place to rest. Baiyu nodded and said, go in and take a look. Just as Baiyu's words fell, Tanjiro's face suddenly changed, and then he said with some horror, there is a smell of blood. The mountain road here is precipitous, someone should have been injured. After that, the kind-hearted Tanjiro immediately pulled your bean and ran to the Buddhist hall. Baiyu didn't have time to stop it, so he had to follow. Shiraiha's nose was not as good as Tanjiro's, so he didn't smell blood in the first place. When Baiyu ran into the Buddhist hall, Baiyu faintly smelled blood. At this time, Tanjiro was already in front of the door of the Buddhist hall, and then he pushed the door open and asked inside, are the people inside okay? But the next moment, Tanjiro stood in place, his face turning pale. Baiyu, who was one step slower than Tanjiro, came to Tanjiro's side, then looked inside the Buddhist hall, and finally saw the scene that shocked him. There were several human corpses in the hall, and these corpses had been eaten, and the ghost who ate the corpse was squatting in front of one of the corpses at this time, and made a sound of chewing food. Baiyu's expression was extremely solemn, and he made a gesture of drawing his sword and fighting. Bring your beans and go. Haku ordered Tanjiro extremely quickly and forcefully. Tanjiro was obviously already frightened, and did not hear Baiyu's words at all, still frozen in place, without any reaction. What are you doing? Feed. This is my territory. I saw that the ghost who was eating people had already sensed the presence of Baiyu and the others, so he stood up and turned around a little impatiently. This special smell, are you human? The ghost continued to ask to himself. As soon as the words fell, Ghost shot directly towards Baiyu. So fast. Baiyu was shocked in his heart, because he could no longer dodge this attack. Baiyu had to instinctively make a defensive posture of parrying. Suddenly, Baiyu was knocked out, and in mid-air, the ghost slashing knife in Baiyu's hand swung violently towards Ghost's neck. Ghost was slashed by Baiyu, so he put a backflip away from Baiyu. After a few staggers, Baiyu barely stabilized his figure, and after stabilizing his figure, Bai Yu did not attack rashly, nor did he choose to directly open the ghost deification. The side effects of ghost deification are too torturous, that sour, Bai Yu does not want to enjoy it. Chapter 11. Ghost Killer Teams? But it's a pity. The attack just now is not a threat to me, and the wound will heal immediately. Ghost touched the neck that was cut by the white feather, and said with a playful face. Hearing this, Bai Yu was not surprised at all. Ghost's recovery ability, Bai Yu naturally knew. You can't kill them with ordinary weapons, you have to use special weapons, such as the Nikki knife used by Tomioka Yoshiyuki. The Nikawa knife is the weapon used by most ghost killing teams, and only a few special ghost hunter weapons will be special. And Bai Yu's ghost slashing knife is to be advanced to pass the Sun Wheel knife. After all, this is a gift from the system. Even if it is a gift given by nothing, there must be something special. Oh yes! Bai Yu looked like he suddenly realized. Just when Ghost was extremely proud and ready to repair the wound on his neck, the next moment, Ghost's expression suddenly became frightened and surprised. What's going on? Why didn't the wound heal? Forgot to tell you that I have the ability to inhibit wound healing, and I was cut by my knife. Even if you are Ghost, the wound cannot heal instantly. Bai Yu said leisurely. How is it possible? Ghost is shocked. For Ghost, this is not a good thing, because too much blood loss, even if it is a ghost, even if it is not dead, it is estimated that it is not a threat. After panicking, Ghost immediately calmed down again, although its wounds could not heal now, but such an amount of bleeding did not pose any threat to Ghost. Soon, it found that its wounds showed signs of healing, but very slowly, but compared to people, this healing speed was also very fast. Ghost, who discovered this, immediately showed an arrogant and teasing expression again, and then said to Bai Yu, I was almost scared by you. Although your knife has the ability to inhibit wound healing, it is only inhibition. I could feel my wound healing on its own, it just took some time. Hearing this, Bai Yu did not show much surprise. The characteristics of the ghost slashing knife are also as Ghost said, only play a certain inhibiting effect. In the face of Ghost's own super recovery ability, the ghost slashing knife cannot completely make the wound unable to heal. So what? My knife can hurt you and kill you. You know, my ghost knife has long been thirsty. Bai Yu did not panic, and said to Ghost coldly. After speaking, I saw that the ghost blood on the blade of the ghost slashing knife was instantly absorbed. This is also the characteristic of the ghost slashing knife, which can absorb the blood of the ghost, and the more it absorbs, the more lethal the ghost slashing knife will be against the ghost, and its own characteristics will be enhanced. For example, inhibiting the ability to recover from wounds. Bai Yu's words made Ghost, who had been arrogant for a while, suddenly calm down again, and now it felt that the man in front of him was not a good bully. I saw Ghost look around sharply, and immediately noticed Tanjiro standing at the door of the Buddhist hall, and without any hesitation, Ghost shifted his target to Tanjiro. Ani's speed was extremely fast, and before Shiraiha could catch up, Ani had already appeared in front of Tanjiro, and then pinched Tanjiro and Yuduzi, and finally lifted the brother and sister. The feeling of suffocation made Tanjiro suddenly come back to his senses, but now it was useless for him to resist any time. Chapter 12. Ha ha ha. Ghost laughed proudly, for the hostage in hand, it had the ability to be arrogant in front of Bai Yu again. See what's in my hand? If you don't want them to die, hand over the knife in your hand. Ghost directly ordered Bai Yu. In its opinion, the most threatening thing was only the ghost slashing knife, so it felt that as long as Bai Yu lost the ghost slashing knife, it would just be food for it to slaughter. If Bai Yu is disobedient, then it will naturally eat the two brothers and sisters, then make itself stronger, and finally slaughter Bai Yu. Of course, this is all Ghost speculation. In fact, Bai Yu did not take the threat of Ghost in his eyes at all. First, even if Oni eats Tanjiro, it will not affect himself. Second, your bean is also a ghost, so there is no need to be afraid that this wild ghost can easily kill her. Third, as a ghost being, her combat effectiveness is naturally not to be underestimated, although she has not eaten people. You use them to threaten me, it's the stupidest act. Bai Yu said lightly. I saw that as soon as Bai Yu's words fell, your bean suddenly rioted, and kicked the head of Ghost off abruptly with a kick. How is it possible? This girl is actually a ghost. Why would she mix with humans? The breath of water is activated. Just as your bean moved his feet, Bai Yu used the water breathing method obtained from the mission reward. Using the white feather of water breath, all aspects of the body's functions have been significantly improved. In a breath of time, Haku came to the headless ghost body, and then slashed the ghost knife at the ghost hand that choked Tanjiro's arm, and finally Tanjiro fell to the ground along with the severed ghost hand. The saved Tanjiro immediately ripped off the ghost hand, and then said to Shiraiha, "Thank you, senior." Shiraiha didn't pay attention to Tanjiro's thanks, but said to him, "The kicked ghost head will be handed over to you to deal with, and it should be regarded as a trial for you. Don't let him run away. Otherwise, more people will be harmed, just like your family." Hearing this, Tanjiro was stunned. He didn't expect that Bai Yu would actually let himself deal with Ghost, but Bai Yu's words behind did touch him. "Senior, what about you?" Tanjiro asked curiously before acting. "Of course, to deal with this ghost body, and at the same time to protect your sister," Bai Yu replied. Tanjiro quickly understood that Bai Yu alone could not take care of the ghost who had separated his head and body, and if Bai Yu was alone, it was very likely to let some of them go. Ghost's regenerative ability is very strong, as long as it is not completely killed, even if only a small part of the body remains, it can be restored. "I see." Tanjiro didn't ask any more questions, picked up the axe he had used for many years, and went to deal with the ghost head. Bai Yu once again used the breath of water and swung more than a dozen swords at the headless ghost body. The strength of Bai Yu's attack was not great, and the blade only left different shades of scars on the ghost body, and did not decompose the ghost body. Of course, this is the effect that Bai Yu wants. After all, this ghost body is not the main body of the ghost, and if it is decomposed, it will only increase the doppelganger of Ghost and increase the success probability of Ghost's escape. If you want to say why Bai Yu didn't directly kill the main body of Oni, the reason is because of Tanjiro. After all, he is the protagonist of this world, and this is what he should have experienced, if Shiraiha did everything for Tanjiro. This can trigger a butterfly effect, which can then have unpredictable and serious consequences. Therefore, Bai Yu knew that his existence could only be used as a guide, not as a leader. Chapter 13. More importantly, in front of Bai Yu, your beans are more important. After all, this is related to the life and death of Bai Yu itself. Therefore, everything that Bai Yu does will only be related to the task, and what has nothing to do with the task, Bai Yu naturally will not pay attention to it. Under the characteristics of the ghost slashing knife, the original attack on the ghost did not hurt or itch, and gradually played its due effect. Because the wound on the ghost body was suppressed by the characteristics of the ghost slashing knife and could not heal in a short time, a large amount of blood gushed out from the wound and stained the entire ghost body. The whole ghost body was red, like a blood corpse. The countless wounds cut by the blade made this ghost body even more terrifying. It can be said that this is 100 times more cruel than directly killing Ghost. Bai Yu's practice was like 1,000 cuts, and there was no mercy in it. Because the ghost body lost a lot of blood, the movements of the ghost body became extremely slow, and it almost fell completely. As the main ghost head, he also suffered a lot of influences, although these effects were not fatal enough, but gave Tanjiro the opportunity to fight back. I saw that the ghost head with 2 arms was confronting Tanjiro, and the axe that Tanjiro wanted to cut off was being grabbed by the 2 hands that grew out of the ghost head, and the hair of the ghost head was also entangled in the handle of the axe. 1 person and 1 ghost head were fighting each other for control of the axe, and the ghost head affected by the ghost body suddenly dropped sharply in strength, and Tanjiro suddenly seized the opportunity and hit the ghost head a few times with his hard head. With this impact, the ghost head was a little dizzy and completely unloaded. Tanjiro seized the opportunity again and threw his axe hard at a tree trunk. Because the ghost head's hair was still wrapped around the axe handle, and the ghost head was a little fainting, there was no time to separate from the axe, and finally he was nailed to the tree trunk by the axe. On the other hand, on Baiyu's side, the ghost body finally fell completely under Baiyu's countless swords, and the ghost body fell all around, the blood flowing from the ghost body. The blood had stained the ground red, and the air was filled with a thick blood chi. Seeing that the ghost body fell, Baiyu stopped the knife, and under the countless swords, the ghost slashing knife also absorbed a large amount of ghost blood, and the blade body at this time was shining with purple light. Ghost chopping knife upgrade, fan level lower grade, fan level upper grade. Attribute effect increased by 5% at this time. Baiyu's mind came with the broadcast of the superdimensional crossing system. Baiyu couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. This kind of ghost slashing knife actually upgraded. If this ghost slashing knife is placed in a pool full of ghost blood for one night, will it have to be upgraded to an artifact? Baiyu was a little excited just thinking about it, but this idea should be a little unrealistic. It is estimated that the subsequent upgrade may have requirements for blood. This is Baiyu's personal guess. After all, when Baiyu became a superdimensional crossing, online games were not less played, and the routine was naturally understood. Senior, I've already controlled the ghost head, come over quickly. Tanjiro waved at Shiraiha. Baiyu withdrew the ghost slashing knife from its scabbard, and then said to Yuduzi, come with me. After that, Shiraiha walked towards Tanjiro, and as if you could understand Shiro's words, Yubin walked behind Shiraiha. Tanjiro, kill it. Baiyu looked at Tanjiro and said lightly. Chapter 14. Kill it. Senior Baiyu, you're not joking. How do I do this? Tanjiro looked at Haku in surprise, obviously not understanding Hakuyu's words. Shouldn't this kind of thing be done by Baiyu himself? How could he have done it himself? Can't do it. What are you going to protect your sister? How to avenge your family? Or have you put aside your hatred and are ready to live like this for the rest of your life? Hakuba questioned Tanjiro. Tanjiro shook his head and denied, no. If not, then kill the guy in front of you. The road you have to take next is even more treacherous than it is now. Baiyu's tone carried irresistible majesty. Tanjiro didn't dare to say anything more, and in hesitation, Tanjiro trembled and took out the knife on his waist, and then held it up in front of the ghost head. At this moment, a hand reached out behind Tanjiro, and that hand was immediately placed on Tanjiro's shoulder. That kind of thing can't kill it. A slightly old voice sounded. Hakuba and Tanjiro were startled at the same time, and both followed the sound and looked over. It was a man wearing a Tengu mask, a headscarf around his head, and a sky blue robe, and a pattern of water spray ripples printed on his robe. Judging from the old voice, this person is at least more than 100 years old. Although he is old, his body and bones are unusually straight, and the whole person is extremely angry. To Baiyu's surprise, the old man's approach to him was not aware of it at all. If the other party wants to disadvantage him, it is estimated that he has already been recruited now. However, it may also be that the other party does not have any killing intent, so he can lean over so quietly. Just when Baiyu sighed, Baiyu remembered the identity of this old man. This is the person Tanjiro is looking for, Takizo Jinji. Takizo Oji, a practitioner of the water breath genre, and also a cultivator who cultivates new ghost hunters for the ghost killing team. Tomioka Yoshiyuki is his disciple. Then how can I kill it? Tanjiro asked while shocked. Don't ask others, can't you think about it with your own brain? Taki replied recently. After speaking, Takizo looked at Baiyu recently, and Baiyu showed a faint smile to show respect. And Tanjiro thought about it, and finally he found a big stone and held it in his hand, but when he really wanted to start, Tanjiro still hesitated. "Ah, this kid can't do it, too considerate to make decisions." Even in the face of Ghost, the gentle smell has not dissipated, and even compassion for Ghost. "Righteousness, is this the child you found?" Taki looked at Tanjiro's performance and couldn't help but muttered in his heart. Baiyu also watched quietly from the sidelines, and did not say anything more. Now that Tanjiro's true-life mentor has appeared, there is no need for Haku to make do with it anymore. Time passed by minute, and the ghost head who had fainted at that time gradually woke up. "You guy! I'll kill you! Eat everything you eat! Come over here, hey! I can't get over, you give me over, hey!" The ghost head, nailed to the trunk of the tree, danced his two hands on his head and shouted at the hesitant Tanjiro. At this time, the sun gradually rose, and the sunlight soon hit. The ghost that was hit by the sun suddenly began to dissipate little by little, and let out a howl of pain, and finally the ghost head completely dissipated in front of Tanjiro. Chapter 15. When Tanjiro saw this scene, he immediately recovered from the entanglement in fright, and the large stone he held in his hands also slipped and fell to the ground. "As soon as the sun shines, it will go away. No wonder your beans resist the sun." Tanjiro felt a pang of fear in his heart. In a panic, Tanjiro looked around and looked for his sister and Hakuha. "Thou beans! Hakubane senpai!" Tanjiro suddenly exclaimed. Where would they go during his hesitation? Thinking about it, Tanjiro ran back to the door of the Buddhist hall again, then stood outside the door and looked in, and finally saw Yubin shrunk in a bamboo basket in a dark corner, and White Feather sleeping against the bamboo basket. After seeing the two, Tanjiro was relieved, and Tanjiro did not wake up Baiyu. When Tanjiro turned his head to look at an open space outside the temple, Tanjiro saw Taki near Tanji. "I saw that Takizo was worshipping those who had been killed by ghosts, and those towering small graves were the places where Takizo had dug out to bury the dead." That Tanjiro walked over, then wanted to talk to the other man. As soon as the words fell, Takizo Kinji stood up, and then said, "I am Takizo Jinji, and the person Tomioka Yoshiyuki is talking about is you and that young man, right?" "Yes, my name is Tanjiro, that young man is Shiraba senpai, and my sister's name is Yubin." After Tanjiro knew that the other party was the person he was looking for, he also took the initiative to introduce him. Taki didn't care too much about Tanjiro's introduction, but suddenly stood up, looked at Tanjiro and asked, "Tanjiro, what do you do when your sister eats people?" Tanjiro was again asked by Taki Zuoji's words, and he really didn't know how to answer such a question. Seeing that Tanjiro was at a loss, Taki walked to Tanjiro and then slapped Tanjiro. "With me, his sister will not have the possibility of eating people. If there is, don't bother your old man to do it. I will also end the life of your bean with my own hands." At this time, Baiyu suddenly appeared in front of the two, and saw Baiyu leaning against the wall of the Buddhist hall, with a light and cloudy face. After speaking, Baiyu also yawned, and then stretched his waist. Takizo turned his head to look at Baiyu. For Baiyu, Takizo Jinji still appreciates it very much, because Baiyu is very sensible, calm, decisive at the moment, without any indecision, is a strong person should have psychological quality. Baiyu is right. "Tanjiro, your speed of judgment is too slow. Until dawn, you still failed to give Ghost the final blow. Why didn't you answer the question just now?" "It's because your heart is not firm enough. When your sister eats people, there are only two things you have to do. Kill my sister, and finally kill myself. With a sister who has turned into a ghost, you have to suffer such a result. So, you must not let this happen. See what I'm saying?" Shitakizoji instructed Tanjiro in a serious tone. "Yes. I understand." In the face of Takizuoji's teaching, Tanjiro answered sincerely. "So, let me test whether you are suitable to become a ghost hunter of the ghost killing team." After Takizo finished speaking, he turned his gaze to Baiyu again, and then continued, "Your name is Baiyu, right? Listen to the righteous boy, you are also a special guy." Chapter 16. For ordinary people, it's really special. Baiyu said lightly. "Keep up with me, don't get left behind." Takizo did not continue to inquire about Baiyu's situation recently. As soon as Takizo's words fell, Takizo's figure burst out, extremely fast, and there was no sound. Tanjiro didn't react at once, and Baiyu suddenly roared at Tanjiro, and then asked him to quickly follow. Tanjiro chased after him on his back foot, and Baiyu no longer lingered, and quickly entered the Buddhist hall and carried the bamboo basket containing ear beans. In just a few seconds, Takizakenji and Tanjiro disappeared. Baiyu began to use the breath of water to improve his physical functions. If he ran normally, he obviously couldn't catch up with them, not to mention that Baiyu was still carrying ear beans. Takizo, who was running in the front, turned his head to look behind him, and found that only Tanjiro was followed 100 meters behind him, and Shiraiha seemed to have fallen behind. Can't help it, Takizo is a little puzzled. Is it possible that Baiyu is not even as good as Tanjiro? On Tanjiro's side, Tanjiro, who was worried that Haku would fall behind, used the branches he picked up to draw a running route on the ground while running. Tanjiro knew that Haku was going to take care of your bean, and if with his reaction and speed, if he had to take care of your bean, it is estimated that he would have been thrown away by Takizo recently. After Baiyu chased it out, he quickly found the scratches on the road, and for this extremely fresh scratch, Baiyu knew that it was the mark left by this kid Tanjiro after a little thought. So Haku followed closely behind them all the way by the residual breath of Takizuoji, and the mark left by Tanjiro. Baiyu, who has mastered the breath of water, naturally has physical functions that ordinary people cannot match, and coupled with Takizo's recent consideration of Tanjiro's physical fitness, it is naturally impossible to bring out his full strength. As time passed, Baiyu gradually caught up with Tanjiro, and when Baiyu ran to Tanjiro's side, he saw Takizuoji who was 100 meters away. Tanjiro can keep a distance from others to Taki-Tanji, and there are indeed two brushes. At this time, Tanjiro's breathing was extremely heavy and rapid, and when he saw Baiyu chasing him, he showed a happy expression, and wanted to talk to Baiyu. "Control your breathing, now is not the time to talk." Haku interrupted his thoughts of talking to him before Tanjiro could speak. Hearing this, Tanjiro also understood that his current state was really not suitable for speaking, and now he had some difficulty even controlling the rhythm of his breathing, let alone speaking. However, when Tanjiro saw that Baiyu was not tired at all, and his steps were extremely brisk, he couldn't help but secretly admire and worship in his heart. If you want to become stronger, pass the test of the old man of Takizo, and then learn the method of becoming stronger from him. Haku said to Tanjiro again. This time, Tanjiro nodded and adjusted his breathing. The two followed unhurriedly, neither shortening the distance from Takizuoji, nor keeping too far from Takizuoji. "Did you catch up?" Takizo sensed the white feather who was catching up, and then turned his head to look down. Wait, this guy actually uses the breath of water. Chapter 17. It can't be wrong, this is the breath of water. Who the hell taught this guy to breathe? Takizuoji, who was stunned in his heart, muttered to himself. Every ghost hunter has his own breath, and the genre of breathing begins with the original breath of the sun, which is also the origin of all breaths. Because the breath of the sun is very powerful and domineering, not everyone is suitable for learning, so in the long-term development, there are 5 breathing methods derived from the breath of the sunday: the breath of water, the breath of flame, the breath of rock, the breath of wind, the breath of thunder, and in the long river of history, there are also people who have once again derived new breathing methods on the basis of these 5 breathing methods, and the 9 pillars of the ghost-killing team. There are pillars that use breathing methods derived from the 5 major genres. Because of the peculiarities of the column, there are no columns with the same breath in the column. There is only one column corresponding to each breathing method, and only if the current column abdicates due to irresistible factors, or dies in battle, the position of the column can be qualified to be inherited by the next one. And the column is just a title for the ghost killer team. It is not very noble, nor is it a symbol of power. As a pillar, he is on the mission of eradicating ghosts from this world. As time passed, the time suddenly arrived in the evening at dusk, and Taki stopped in front of a log cabin, and then Shiraba and Tanjiro, who arrived later, also stopped, and Tanjiro directly lay on the ground, and then breathed heavily. Bayu's face still did not change, and he stood in front of Taki Zojinji with a steady breath. Scale Taki, old timer, I and White Feather Senior Count passed the test? Tanjiro asked with relief. Takizo opened the door of the wooden house for the next time, and then said, Bayu's test is over, your test has only begun now, follow me up the mountain. Hearing this, Tanjiro gasped. Hakuyu, you are here watching Tanjiro's sister. When I come back, I have something to ask you. Taki said to Bayu recently. Hearing this, Bayu looked at Tanjiro, who was a little collapsed, and then said, Don't let me down. After that, Bayu walked into the log cabin, and then put the beans on the wooden bed with a dark place. At this time, Bean didn't know what the reason was, and actually passed out. Bayu did not mean to wake up your Bean, but sat cross-legged on the ground and began to rest. Tanjiro watched Shiraiha place his sister, so he said to Shiraiha, Senior Shiraiha, I will definitely pass the test. Bayu glanced at Tanjiro and didn't say anything more, just nodded. Let's go Tanjiro. Takizuoji's urging soon sounded. Tanjiro didn't stop staying too long, and turned around and went up the mountain with Takizo. Tanjiro didn't know at all what kind of test to undergo to go up the mountain. Shiraiha, who was waiting in the cabin, waited for Taki to return after nightfall, and Shiraiha looked around him and found that there was no Tanjiro, so he became a little puzzled. However, Bayu did not ask at the first time. After all, Bayu knew that this old man would not let Tanjiro die. The two eyes faced each other for a while, and finally Takizo took the lead in speaking, Let's eat boiled fish fillets tonight. Chapter 18. Hearing this, Bayu then noticed the two fish that Taki was carrying in his left hand. Bayu does not know the type of fish, so he does not know what kind of fish it is. For food, Bayu has no requirements, as long as it is not a dark dish. So, Bayu nodded. Then Izuku threw the fish to Bayu, and said, The fish will be handled by you. There were cutting boards outside the house and fish knives. Bayu took the two fish with some stunned, looking at the appearance of Takizuoji. Obviously there was no room for negotiation. Bayu had to bite the bullet and walk out of the house. Looking around, Bayu saw the stove. The stove was very simple, but very clean. Although he has not killed fish, Bayu is not an ordinary person without any skills now, and the resourceful Bayu soon tries to kill fish with the help of water breath. The use of water breath suddenly amplified Bayu's perception, and with the help of strong perception, Bayu began to pick up the sharp fish knife and slashed along the skeleton of the fish. With a few simple knives, the fish head and the fish bone are completely separated from the fish meat. At this time, the elusive scaled Takizo suddenly appeared next to Bayu, and also reached for the fish bones that Bayu had decomposed. Cultivate your breath to the point where you want, not bad. But you should be about the same age as Yi Yang, so it's still a little worse. Taki commented recently. In the face of Takizuoji's recent comparison with Tomioka Yoshiyuki, and said that he was a little worse than him, Bayu did not have much mood swings. Bayu admits that his current self is indeed not as strong as Tomioka Yoshiyuki, who is the current water pillar, but this will not be the case in the future. After all, he is a super-dimensional traverser, a man with a system plug-in. The mood is good, even in the face of my deliberate debasement, you can still stop the heart, it is a good seedling. Takizoji praised again. This time, Baiyu showed a faint smile to Takizuoji. Remember to thin the fish slices. Takizo knew that Baiyu was a taciturn person recently, so he didn't expect Baiyu to say more to him, and after the final explanation to Baiyu, he took the fish bone into the log cabin. Back in the cabin, Taki threw the fish bones in his hand into the iron pot set up in the fire. The water in the iron pot had been grilled, and he went out to get the fish bones precisely to boil some fish bone soup as a soup base. After throwing the fish bones into the pot, Taki took out the secret recipe that he had placed in his pocket and poured it into the pot. As the water boils, the aroma begins to spread along with the heat. The white feather who was fillet outside the house also smelled the fragrance, and the fragrance quickly hooked Baiyu's appetite, and Baiyu secretly swallowed spit. After a few minutes, Baiyu had completely sliced the fish. Then, Baiyu walked into the wooden house with a plate containing fish fillets. Taki knelt at one end of the iron pot, and a mat was placed at the other end of the iron pot, which was obviously prepared by Takizo for Shireha. The sides of the iron pot have also been arranged with bowls and a stack of dipping sauce, which you don't need to think about to know that it is used to dip fish fillets. Take a seat. Taki said leisurely to Baiyu. Baiyu answered, and then placed the 2 plates of fish fillets in his hand on both sides of the iron pot. And finally knelt on the opposite cushion like Takizuoji. Chapter 19. Accompanied by the boiling sound of fragrant fish soup in an iron pot, the atmosphere was unusually quiet. Baiyu and Takizo were silent for a while, and then Baiyu took the lead and said, "Taki Senior, please." Hearing this, Takizuoji took off his Tengu mask, and Takizuoji's face was also exposed to Baiyu. When he saw the old man's appearance, Baiyu was not surprised and shocked. However, judging from the old man's age, he should be in his 60s. Although he is over 60 years old, he still maintains an incomparably strong spirit. Shiteki, who removed the Tengu mask, did not immediately move, but opened his mouth and asked Shireha, "Before you start, I want to know who taught you your water breath." Hearing this, Baiyu didn't expect the old man to ask this. Slightly surprised, Baiyu replied, "I saw that Tomioka Yoshiyuki used it, so I tried to imitate it, but I didn't expect the effect to be good." Of course, this is all Baiyu's exaggerated rhetoric. As for why I say this, of course, I must properly improve my own qualifications. Takizo did not show a surprised expression this time, but his expression became more solemn. The reason why he was not surprised was because Takizo felt that Baiyu was bragging recently. He himself is a practitioner of the breath of water, and knows that learning the breathing method cannot be successful simply by imitating, but must be explored and familiar with the unity of mind and mind, master the origin and characteristics of the breathing method itself, and finally make this breathing an instinct of the body through continuous repeated practice. The learning of the water breath breathing method, which belongs to the 5 major schools, is not as easy as you say, and imitation alone will not reach your level. In your current realm, it took him 2 years to be brave. Taki continued to say lightly. Baiyu did not refute anything, but continued, "Elder Taki has to believe that there are geniuses in this world, and I am that kind of person." Without unnecessary explanation, Baiyu attributed the reason why he could breathe water to the sake of genius. After all, Baiyu has nothing to say about the system, and there is no need to explain the existence of the system to Takizuoji. Hearing this, Takizo suddenly laughed, and this laughter seemed to say that Baiyu was a little arrogant. Soon, Takizuoji's laughter suddenly stopped, and his expression became a little sad. "I also had a very good disciple before, he was even better than Yi Yang, but he gave his life because of his arrogance. It is not so much arrogance as excessive concern for others, and the result is to hurt yourself." In order to save all the people who participated in the selection, he eventually lost his physical strength and fell on the mountain, and the final result was naturally eaten by a ghost. Takizo slowly told Baiyu recently, but Baiyu didn't understand the specific purpose of the old man telling him this. Was it just simply telling himself not to be arrogant? Or do you say that if you don't die, you won't die? I told you about this to tell you that since you consider yourself a genius, don't let me see this tragedy happen again. Going too far to do things outside of your own ability is actually a manifestation of arrogance. After listening to Takizo's recent story, Baiyu understood. It turned out that it was his own that reminded him of his deceased disciple, which is why he said so many heavy words. Chapter 20. In fact, the old man was also afraid that he would lose his life because of his objective blind confidence and arrogance. Although the disciple of Takizo Jinji is not subjectively arrogant, he shows arrogance in his behavior. As Taki said in his recent words, doing things outside of one's own ability is a manifestation of arrogance. Even if the intention of this matter is good, it may hurt itself in the end. Don't worry. I must have lived longer than you. Haku was trying to ease the somewhat heavy atmosphere, and then quipped to Taki Zuoji. Hey, Taki snorted, and finally stopped saying anything to Baiyu, then picked up the bowl and chopsticks and motioned to Baiyu, let's go. After that, Takizo had already moved his chopsticks to eat, and he no longer cared who Baiyu's water breathing was learned from. The elder generation moved the chopsticks, and Baiyu also moved the chopsticks. Both of them ate the fish fillet very quietly, and the dipping sauce of the fish fillet was very delicious, and Baiyu felt that this dipping sauce was also suitable for dipping fat beef or other hot pot ingredients. As time passed, the fillets on the plate became less and less, and finally they were completely eaten by Shiraiha and Takizo. After eating the fillet of the fish, both of them scooped up the bowl of hot fish soup and slowly drank it, and the sense of comfort of life slowly radiated. The cold wind of the night slowly blew into the house, the faint flames under the iron pot danced with the wind, a little Mars flew into the sky, and then after burning the last trace of heat, it was completely wiped out from this world. When the fish soup in the bowl of Shiraiha and Taki was about to finish drinking, the door outside the wooden house was pushed open, and I saw Tanjiro, who was full of embarrassment, gasping for air. Tanjiro looked at Shirajiro, who was drinking fish soup, and Takizuoji, and said with his last breath, I'm back. As soon as the words fell, Tanjiro lost his strength and fainted at the door. At this time, Baiyu and Takizo put down the bowl and chopsticks in their hands. Shitakizuoji, who put down the bowl and chopsticks, stood up recently, and then walked in front of Tanjiro, and muttered to Tanjiro, who had fainted, I recognize you, Tanjiro. After speaking, Takizuozo picked Tanjiro up, and then put Tanjiro next to Yuduzi. Tanjiro's breathing was very weak, and such a high-intensity test was indeed the limit for him. It is estimated that if it were not for his super will, Tanjiro estimated that he would have fainted before passing the test. The next day, Tanjiro, who was unconscious, woke up, and when he woke up, Tanjiro felt a soreness all over his body, which was the sequelae of high-intensity exercise. His Tanjiro let out a moan against the soreness of his body, and tried to get up. However, at this time, the muscles in Tanjiro's whole body could no longer be controlled by him, and after trying for a long time, Tanjiro still could not get up. However, Tanjiro's nose smelled a familiar smell, and following the smell, Tanjiro turned his head away. Then he saw Yu's beans sleeping beans. Thou beans! Tanjiro suddenly exclaimed with joy. At this time, the sound of fighting outside the house attracted Tanjiro's attention. Tanjiro, who slowed down a little, slowly pushed open the door of the wooden house. Outside the house, Baiyu was practicing with a bamboo knife with Takizo. And the two of them beat you and me with a bamboo knife, and the crisp crackling sound of the bamboo knife hitting echoed in Tanjiro's ears. Chapter 21. The reaction is quite fast, but your attack strength is soft, and every time you strike the knife, the body reacts instinctively, and when the knife is shot, the breath does not mobilize 100% of the body's full function. During the confrontation, Takizo recently spoke out to point out Shiraiha's shortcomings. As soon as the words fell, Taki inhaled one by one, and then the whole person suddenly burst out with amazing momentum and strength, and suddenly Bai Yu's bamboo knife was cut off. The broken edge of the white feather bamboo knife was unusually flat, as if it had been cut off by a sharp blade. Bai Yu was slightly distracted, and after a brief loss of concentration, Bai Yu showed a faint smile, and then clasped his hands into fists and thanked Taki Zo, "Thank you for your old guidance." In fact, Bai Yu also understood why he had such a big gap with the old man, and the most fundamental reason was that Bai Yu did not understand swordsmanship at all, so Bai Yu could only deal with it through the instinct of his body when facing Taki Zuoji. Bai Yu, although you can control the breath of water freely, you have no touch on kendo. Perhaps, as you say, your water breath was learned through imitation, and you are a genius. Takizo praised Bai Yu again. For Takizo to see that he is a kendo little white recently, Bai Yu is not much surprised. After all, people are old/quacks, this point of vision is naturally there. The next thing you will do is to learn kendo and comprehend it, so get here today. Go back to the house and rest. After explaining to Shiraiha, Taki looked at Tanjiro standing at the door of the wooden house, and then said to Tanjiro, "Come with me, Tanjiro." After that, Taki turned around and walked away in one direction. Tanjiro followed after realizing it, and when he passed by Bai Yu's side, Tanjiro couldn't help but remind Bai Yu, "Senior Bai Yu, you beans please you." Bai Yu nodded and didn't say anything more. Bai Yu, who returned to the wooden house, couldn't help but lie on the empty seat next to Yu Bean, and then stretched his waist and sighed, "It seems that I have to live in this place for a long time." Some bored white feathers couldn't help but look at Yu Bean, who had fallen asleep, Yu Bean's fair skin, and the more Bai Yu looked, the more he wanted to touch. After about half an hour, Tanjiro and Taki returned to the cabin again. "In the future, the cooking will be left to you, go kill the fish. This is also a practice for you," Taki explained to Tanjiro recently. "Yes, master." Tanjiro replied with some helplessness, and then took the 2 large fish that had just been caught to the stove to deal with them. And the title of Tanjiro's master is also an acceptance and recognition of Taki Zuoji, and Tanjiro also regards himself as a disciple of Taki Zuoji. Without saying much, Taki walked into the wooden house. Then, he said to Bai Yu, who was lying next to Yuduzi, "No matter how you look at it, she is always a ghost, can it be that you still like her?" Hearing Taki Zuoji's joke, Bai Yu sat up at once, and then smiled faintly, and didn't say anything more. And Taki Zuoji did not take his words seriously, and then changed his tone and said, "Raise the fire, today is still boiled fish fillet." In this way, Shiraiha and Tanjiro, one busy making a fire and iron pot, the other busy handling fish meat. As for Taki Zuoji, he sat on the side and meditated to recuperate. Chapter 22. The days that followed were basically like this, with Hakuha learning swordsmanship with Taki every day, while Tanjiro did his physical strengthening training on the side. When it was time to eat, Tanjiro would go to the designated place to catch raw fish. Tanjiro's mandatory item every night is the log cabin that runs back from the narrow mist mountain. Although this project does not sound difficult, listening to Tanjiro's own account, there are many traps laid by Takizo on the mountain. And the location changes every day, and as Tanjiro becomes more and more popular, the nature of the trap gradually changes, from the previous simple containment to the meaning of killing Tanjiro. From the very beginning, Tanjiro could only clean up the mess after Shiraiha and Takizo's recent dinner, gradually becoming able to eat a few mouthfuls of leftover soup, then returning halfway through dinner, and finally being able to return to the wooden house before dinner was ready. Every night, Tanjiro has the habit of talking and keeping a diary with Yubian, while Shiraiha lies in his sleeping place, looking at the ceiling in a daze. After Tanjiro was able to avoid all the traps, Tanjiro also began to formally learn the basics of swordsmanship, wielding a sword. As Tanjiro grows, there are more and more things to learn. And Bai Yu has still been groping for kendo, and the 10 types of water that the old man taught him. Compared to Tanjiro, Shiraiha has much less to learn, like the physical fitness that Tanjiro has to practice every day, and Baiyu does not have to practice. During these long days, Tanjiro's sister Yuduko has been in a coma, and there is no reasonable explanation for why Yuduko has been in a coma. Half a year later, Kinteki was officially taught the essence of Tanjiro Mizu's breathing method. Tanjiro, today I want to teach you the breath of water breathing method, you have to listen carefully. Taki said to Tanjiro very seriously. Yes, master. Tanjiro immediately became serious. Baiyu stood quietly beside Tanjiro and didn't say anything more. Breathing is to breathe consciously for a long time, allowing oxygen to spread to every cell of the body, which can improve the body's natural healing power, as well as the body's strength and reflexes. This breathing is called concentrated breathing. And the breath of water is to maintain a specific frequency of breathing on the basis of fully concentrated breathing, and at a specific frequency, the rhythm of water will be produced, which is the breath of water, and the same is true of other breaths, all of which have their own rhythm. Tanjiro, now relax your upper body, steady your lower body, and start breathing. Taki said to Tanjiro with a change of tone. Hearing this, Tanjiro began to try to breathe according to Taki Zyuoji's instructions. Just as soon as he took a breath, Tanjiro's expression suddenly turned painful, and he screamed miserably. In the blink of an eye, it turned out that it was Takizo's palm that hit Tanjiro's abdomen. No, fully concentrated breathing, it must be the power of the danshin to inhale oxygen, not just your nose, which is just a channel for oxygen to flow in. Once again, Qi Shen danshin through the danshin to spread oxygen to every cell of the body. Yes, master. Tanjiro answered again, and then tried again. Ah. Yes. Ah, then the situation was Tanjiro's screams of failed attempts again and again. Chapter 23. Above a waterfall, this place is where Tanjiro fishes. On this day, Taki took Shiraiba and Tanjiro to this place for the practice of sensing the rhythm of breathing. Of course, Takizo recently knew that Baiyu no longer needed to do such a practice, and could initiate the breath of water as he wanted, and to this extent, he obviously knew the rhythm of water very well. So this is mainly specific to Tanjiro's practice. Hakuha, Tanjiro, all you have to do today is to merge with the water. Taki said slowly to the two. Master, merge with the water, are you sure you're not joking with us? Tanjiro looked very surprised. Go quickly. Shiteki didn't explain and talk nonsense to Tanjiro, and kicked him off the waterfall. Tanjiro fluttered a few times in midair before falling straight down. Then, Taki Zyuoji's gaze swept towards Baiyu. After noticing the old man's gaze, Baiyu did not give Taki the opportunity to kick himself down the near time, so he took the initiative to jump off the waterfall. In midair, Hakuba had already begun to breathe in the water, and then when he was about to fall into the water like Tanjiro, Hakuba did a somersault, and finally the sole of his right leg touched the surface of the water first. The originally flowing surface of the water suddenly stood still, and the reflection of the white feather was printed on the surface of the water. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed, and Baiyu did not submerge into the water as a whole, but stood straight on the water as if standing on a flat ground. Then, where the soles of Baiyu's feet touched the surface of the water, a ripple suddenly appeared, and the ripples suddenly spread and enlarged in all directions. When the ripples disappeared, the surface of the water flowed again. At this time, Baiyu's left leg slowly lowered, and then the whole person stood completely on the water. Tanjiro, who poked his head out of the water, was even more shocked when he saw the white feather standing on the surface of the water, which is also too powerful. The master didn't joke, he really merged with the water. Good performance. Standing on the waterfall, Taki Zyuoji affirmed Shiraiba's performance in his heart. Senior Baiyu, how did you do it? That's awesome. Tanjiro couldn't contain the shock and excitement in his heart, and shouted at Shiraiha. Baiyu slowly walked towards Tanjiro, then came to him and said, "Thoroughly master the breath of water that the master has given you, and you can do it too." After that, Tanjiro had an additional training program, and under the orders of Takizakinji, Shiraiha would also take Tanjiro with him to practice. "Oh, you beans! I am water! I am water! I am against the rushing waterfall," Tanjiro instinctively howled, and finally Tanjiro still couldn't withstand the impact of the waterfall and fainted. On the other hand, Baiyu, also standing under the waterfall, but the white feather has already merged with the water, and the waterfall falling down the torrent is not the white feather, but flows silently from the white feather. A year passed, and Tanjiro practiced as always, and he gradually groped out the doorway to breathe. Suddenly, one day, Taki called Shiraiba and Tanjiro to his side. "Tanjiro, I have nothing left to teach you." Hearing this, Tanjiro was stunned for a moment. He never thought that Takizo would say such a thing to himself. Because Tanjiro feels that the things in the master cannot be learned. Chapter 24. In the future, it will be up to you to see if you can sublimate what I have taught. Your senior brother Baiyu naturally doesn't need to say much, his talent is higher than Yiyang and you. If it weren't for waiting for you, he would have become a powerful existence in the ghost-killing team like Tomioka Yoshiyuki. As for whether you can participate in the final selection of the ghost killer team, you still need to pass the last test. Come with me. After Takizo finished speaking, he disappeared with a puff of smoke. Go. Baiyu said to Tanjiro, and immediately followed. Tanjiro followed with his hind feet, with the three Taki in front, Shiraiha in the second, and Tanjiro at the end. In the end, Taki took Shiraiha and Tanjiro to a relatively empty clearing on the Saoki mountain, and after a year's turn, snow fell again on the Sakuri mountain. In the clearing, a huge round stone stood there, and the stone was tied with a thick hemp rope, which should have been dragged here by Takizuoji. "Tanjiro, as long as you can cut off this boulder, I will allow you and Haku to participate in the final selection of the ghost-killing team," Takizo recently explained to Tanjiro at the end. After that, he quietly left again. Tanjiro shouted a few times in the direction where Taki left near G left, but he did not stop Izumi near Taki who left. Looking at the huge stone in front of him, Tanjiro became a little suspicious. Can such a huge stone really be cut off with a knife in your hand? Thinking about it, Tanjiro looked at Baiyu, and then asked, "Senior Hakuha, can you cut off this boulder?" Hearing this, Baiyu nodded and said lightly, "Yes." "Really? Hakubane senpai. So can you show me?" Tanjiro couldn't wait to see how Hakuba cut off the boulder. "Can't." Without much thought, Shiraiha refused Tanjiro's request. "Why?" Tanjiro was puzzled by this. "This is the final test that the old man gave you, so I can't do any demonstration," Baiyu replied. In addition to this reason, the reason why Shiraiha does not demonstrate is that there is only one such boulder, and if Shiraiha cuts off the stone, it will be difficult to find the exact same stone to give to Tanjiro. The other point was that this was the final test for Tanjiro, and Shiraiha didn't want to interfere too much. Use your own brain to think about what the old man said, don't be unable to do it in your life. After Baiyu finished speaking, he also walked away. Senior Baiyu. Tanjiro was a little overwhelmed. Soon, Tanjiro was left alone on the narrow mist mountain, and the cold wind and drifting snow of winter danced leisurely in the mountains. The silence around made Tanjiro fall into thought, and the words of Shiraiha and Taki kept echoing in Tanjiro's ears. Sublimation? Are the things you learn only the skin rather than the essence? Tanjiro asked secretly in his heart. Thinking about it, Tanjiro swung his knife and tried it, and the blade slashed on the boulder and suddenly made the sound of metal hitting a hard object. At this moment, Tanjiro's whole body was numb. Half a year passed like this, and during this half a year, without the guidance of Takizoji, Tanjiro repeated his previous practice every day and tried to cut off the boulder. And Shiraiha will also find time to fight Tanjiro, and every time Tanjiro loses a mess. Senior Baiyu, am I very useless? Half a year has passed, and I still haven't cut off the boulder. Chapter 25. Tanjiro, who was lying on the ground and had lost his strength, began to disbelieve himself a little. Tanjiro, your breathing is so stiff that your body is forced to react. What the old man taught you for half a year, you simply remembered in your head. You haven't incorporated the breath of water into your bones, and you can't cut off the boulder without overcoming it. Haku slowly pointed out Tanjiro's fatal flaw. Although 1.5 years of practice did make Tanjiro grow a lot, his body did not completely sublimate and absorb what he had learned in the course of cultivation. Tanjiro's stiffness in breathing simply could not realize the full potential of Izuno's breath. An attack launched at this level cannot cut off the boulder. After shaking, half a year passed, and the world repeated its cycle of the year, and the winter snowflakes fell into the hands of Baiyu, who stood outside the wooden house, looked up at the snowy sky, and muttered, "It's starting to snow again." Another year has passed. During the year, Takizo has not appeared again. Everything in the wooden house is taken care of by Shiraiha, and your beans are also taken care of by Shiraiha. Because after that duel, Tanjiro has never come down on Mount Narrow Mist. So in the past 6 months, your beans have been taken care of by Baiyu. Regular wiping of the body is naturally indispensable, which is a beautiful errand in Baiyu's opinion. In this way, Baiyu naturally had close contact with your bean. And when Tanjiro was there, this thing was naturally done by him as an older brother. Helping you beans wipe your body is not that Baiyu deliberately takes advantage of your beans, but if you ignore it, there will be a taste. At first, seeing that Tanjiro did not return to the wooden house, he noticed the abnormal white feather, so he personally went up the mountain to look for it, but found that Tanjiro was talking to the air near the boulder, as if he had gone crazy. However, just as Shiraiha was about to wake up Tanjiro, Tanjiro began to dance the knife in his hand. Feeling that Tanjiro's movements were no longer hard, and his breathing control became more and more fluid, Baiyu felt that Tanjiro might have entered the subconscious realm of selflessness, which was a creation that belonged to him. Therefore, Baiyu did not choose to interrupt Tanjiro's creation, but let him completely sublimate himself in this creation. Unexpectedly, it will be another half a year. In the past 6 months, Baiyu has also regularly checked on Tanjiro's situation, but what he saw was either sword dancing or meditating, and sometimes talking to people about something. The most puzzling time, Baiyu tried to stand in front of him, as if he couldn't see Baiyu's existence. Finally, under the prompt of the system, Baiyu used the power of ghosts and gods to open the ghost eye to really figure out Tanjiro's situation. It turned out that there were undead in the narrow misty mountain who locked Tanjiro in the spiritual world they built. Judging from Tanjiro's changes, these undead should be helping Tanjiro grow, so Haku did not intervene too much, but chose to wait quietly. At this time, Baiyu saw a person walking in the distance, and Baiyu fixed his eyes and found that it was Takizuoji, who had been away from the wooden house for a year. Baiyu looked at Takizuoji, who walked in front of him, and then showed a smile and said, "You're back." Old man Takizo stood in front of Baiyu for the next time, looked at Baiyu for a while, then nodded, answered, and asked, What about Tanjiro and the others?" Chapter 26. I stayed on the narrow mist mountain half a year ago and didn't come down again, Tanjiro, this kid is working very hard. Baiyu said to Takizuoji, and in the end, Baiyu did not forget to praise Tanjiro. Compared with you, his talent is still a little worse. This test is beyond his ability for him. Taki said leisurely. Hearing this, Baiyu did not refute the old man, nor did he worry too much. After all, Tanjiro is the protagonist of this world, so he will definitely be able to do it. Baiyu, follow me up the mountain. After that, Baiyu followed Takizo up the narrow mist mountain. The two soon arrived at the test site where the boulder was located, and Tanjiro was standing opposite the boulder. putting on a posture ready to go. Just as Shiraiha was about to explain Tanjiro's situation to Takizuoji, Takizuoji stopped far away, and did not mean to step forward to disturb Tanjiro. Baiyu also looked in the direction where Tanjiro was, and by feeling Tanjiro's breathing, Baiyu found that Tanjiro's breathing reached the most perfect state at this time, and Baiyu was naturally familiar with this state. After all, he was also a person who was proficient in water breathing. It seems that this kid is completely sublimated. Recently, Taki also noticed the change in Tanjiro, and seeing that Tanjiro was going to try to split the boulder, he did not step forward to affect Tanjiro. I saw that in an instant, Tanjiro's figure flashed towards the boulder, and then when approaching the boulder, a clean knife was made, and the boulder in front of him was split in half, and the blade split by the boulder was unusually smooth. Seeing this scene, Takizoji couldn't help but take a long breath. After a brief shock, Taki returned to his previous indifference. And after Tanjiro split the boulder, his spirit completely returned to reality. Looking at the boulder that was split in front of him, Tanjiro's face was full of stunned, and he split the boulder? Just when Tanjiro was stunned, Shiraiha and Taki walked towards him. Tanjiro, who noticed the footsteps, turned to look over, and after seeing Shiraiha and Takizuoji, Tanjiro still did not recover from his stunned. Until the two walked to his side, he subconsciously said, "Master, Senior Shiraiha." Scaled Zo looked at the split boulder for a long time, and slowly spoke, "I didn't plan to let you participate in the final selection. I don't want to see a child die again. I always thought you couldn't cut off the boulder. It seems that you worked very hard." At the end, Taki stroked Tanjiro's head for the next time. "Tanjiro, you really are a very powerful child." Faced with the father-like care of Izuku Taki near G, Tanjiro, who had been practicing in Sayama for 2 years, couldn't help but cry with deep emotion. Seeing this, Takizo took Tanjiro into his arms for the next time. "You and Baiyu must survive the final selection and come back. Your sister and I will be waiting for you to come back." On the night that Tanjiro was taken down the mountain, the wooden house was filled with the aroma of ingredients. This time the soup base of shabu fillets and side dishes were abundant, all yam and mushrooms that Shiraiha had obtained from the mountain, and mussels caught in the river. In order to celebrate the end of all Tanjiro's practice, as a master, Takizuoji also caught a large fish for Tanjiro, and even the fish fillets were personally sliced by Takizuoji. Chapter 27. The 3 masters and apprentices were sitting around the iron pot, and Tanjiro looked at the sumptuous dinner in front of him, and asked with some joy and doubt, "Why are there so many ingredients today?" And Renji Taki was holding a soup spoon to help Tanjiro scoop the hot soup and food in the iron pot for Tanjiro. "This is to celebrate the end of your entire practice. You're welcome, just eat. These are all specially brought back for you by your senior brother Baiyu." "Thank you, master. Thank you, Baiyu senior, then I'm welcome." After thanking Shiraiha and Takizuoji, Tanjiro happily took the food that Takizuoji helped him scoop up, and then couldn't wait to eat it. Then Takizo also scooped a bowl for Baiyu and said, "Baiyu, you also let go and eat." "Thanks, master." This time, Baiyu was also a rare call to the master. Although Baiyu recognized the master of Takizo Jinji in his heart, Baiyu usually called Takizo Jinji an old man. This time, Baiyu did not wait for Taki to move his chopsticks first this time. Because this time, it is the celebration of the elders to the younger generations. Takizo looked at the 2 apprentices in front of him recently, and couldn't help but recall the scene when Tomioka Yoshiyuki was with his senior brother, and now it really looks like back then. "Tanjiro, the thing that worries me the most is you, and all I can do for you is here. From now on, I hope you can completely transform under the guidance of Baiyu." After dinner, Baiyu is using scissors to cut Tanjiro's long messy hair accumulated over the year, which can be regarded as Baiyu's care as a senior brother. Shitakizuoji, who was kneeling by the fire, suddenly opened his mouth and muttered, "Hakuha, Tanjiro, are hot pot and fish fillets delicious?" Hearing this, Baiyu did not answer, but silently helped Tanjiro cut his hair. Although he didn't answer, Baiyu had to admit that this dinner was indeed hearty and delicious. It's delicious, master. I haven't eaten something so delicious in a long time. Tanjiro happily gave a very satisfactory answer to the dinner. For a child with a strong appetite like you, how much food you eat, how much strength will increase, and your body will grow with it. However, ghosts are the same. Speaking of this, Taki turned his gaze to the direction where Shiraiha and Tanjiro were and continued, remember, basically, the power of the ghost is equal to the number of people it eats, and the more people the ghost eats, the more powerful it will be. Some will increase their strength, some will change their flesh, and some can even use magic. Saying that, Taki stood up in the near future, and then came to a cabinet and took out 2 pairs of fox masks from the cabinet. This is the mask of calamity. I cast a spell on the mask, and it will protect you from calamity. This is the last gift from the master to you. With that, Taki handed the mask to Shiraiha and Tanjiro. The next morning, both Hakuba and Tanjiro woke up early, dressed in their respective clothes, and brought their respective sabers and the mask that Taki had given him. Before leaving, Tanjiro did not forget to say goodbye to his sister, who had been sleeping. Baiyu didn't say anything more, and walked out of the wooden house directly. Outside the wooden house, Taki was already waiting to say his final goodbye to the two. Seeing Baiyu come out, Takizo said to Baiyu recently, "You are the most talented one among so many children, you must come back alive and don't let that tragedy happen again." Chapter 28. Baiyu nodded and didn't say much. At this time, Tanjiro also walked out of the wooden house. Taki stepped forward and patted Tanjiro's shoulder and said, "Tanjiro, don't get separated from your senior brother Shiraiha." I know." Tanjiro replied. Baiyu's strength, Tanjiro naturally understood, Baiyu is an even stronger existence than him. After a simple farewell, Tanjiro said to Shiraiha, "Let's go." Hakubane-senpai. Baiyu nodded, and the two of them embarked on their way to the Vine Attack Mountain, where the ghost-killing team was assessed. After a day-long journey, it was not until nightfall that Shiraiha and Tanjiro came to the foot of Fuji Raid Mountain. Looking at the mountains full of wisteria flowers, Tanjiro's mood suddenly became happy. In order to maintain the mystery, Baiyu put the disaster mask on his face. Walking up the only way up the mountain, the two walked up a bluestone staircase to a bluestone paved clearing where many teenagers about the same age as Tanjiro were waiting. And the appearance of Shiraiha and Tanjiro immediately attracted the attention of many teenagers. One of the most eye-catching is naturally the slender white feathers with a height of 175 centimeters and a disaster mask. Because Hakuba is similar in age to Tomioka Yoshiyuki, he is a few years older than these teenagers, and if it weren't for waiting for Tanjiro to join him, Hakuba would have been able to participate in the final selection of the Ghost Killer team a year and a half ago. However, in 2 years, Baiyu has a deeper understanding of the comprehension of swordsmanship, and now there is no big problem in dealing with the selection. "Senior Baiyu, there are so many people here." Tanjiro didn't expect that the people who came to participate in the selection were all teenagers about his age. On the faces of these teenagers, most of them wore a proud look, and after seeing the good-looking Tanjiro, there was no trace of disdain in the proud expression. "Senior Baiyu, I also saw a girl." Tanjiro tugged at Shiraiha's sleeve with some excitement. Under Tanjiro's call, Baiyu simply looked down, but saw a lowly girl in a kimono. This lowly girl has a natural look, as if she can't help the wind, and she may be bullied at any time. However, since this lowly girl dared to come here and was indifferent to the surrounding things, Baiyu knew that this lowly was not simple. It is estimated that she is a woman who moves her hands and will not show mercy at all. What a fuss! If you see someone, hurry up and have a talk. Baiyu took his gaze back, and then couldn't help but say to Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro immediately blushed and became shy, and then complained in a panic, "Senior Bai-yu, what do you say?" I was just surprised, but it seemed like she was a girl. After that, Tanjiro looked around again. "If you're afraid she'll die, pull her over with us now." Bai-yu continued with his own calculations. When Bai-yu said this, Tanjiro also had this idea. However, Tanjiro was still a little shy and did not dare to go up and talk. Just when Tanjiro was tangled, Bai-yu had already walked over, and then came to the lowly girl and said to her, that, "My name is Bai-yu, do you want to team up with a partner later?" Chapter 29. Tanjiro looked at Bai-yu, who had left himself and went to talk to the lowly girl alone, and his face suddenly turned black. "Just now I said that I like peoples, is this posture sure that you don't like it?" Although he was a little dissatisfied in his heart, Tanjiro still did not go up to disturb Shy Rabbit to flirt with the sister. Because Tanjiro believes that Shy Rabbit is a few years older than himself, it is normal for him to take the initiative to chase girls at this age. Because if you grow up, you can get married. Here, Bai-yu took the initiative to talk to the lowly girl, which suddenly caused the eyes of other teenagers around, and suddenly Bai-yu's actions made him the #1 public enemy of most teenagers. "This girl is the first thing I fancy, don't let you hit her idea. Otherwise, I'll slaughter you." A young man who couldn't help but jump out, pointed at Bai-yu and swore his sovereignty, and also threatened Bai-yu. Hearing this, Bai-yu turned his head and made a gesture to him not to speak. Then Bai-yu's figure disappeared from the front of the lowly girl at once, and when everyone locked their eyes on Bai-yu again, Bai-yu had already appeared in front of the teenager who said that he was going to slaughter himself. Bai-yu's ghost-slashing knife had already been unsheathed, and the sharp blade had already been placed across the boy's neck. The young man immediately became frightened, and he was already scared before he could recover from the fright caused by Bai-yu. Urine passed through his pants and landed on the ground. Bai-yu's move just now suddenly let everyone know how powerful he was, and those tiger-eyed eyes just now suddenly turned into fear. "You don't even have a chance to take out a knife, how are you going to slaughter me?" Bai-yu said to the young man very indifferently. "You actually peed your pants, I think you better hurry home to find your mother." Bai-yu was another cold mockery. In the face of Bai-yu's taunt, the young man was angry and couldn't do anything, and the knife was already on his neck. Even if he didn't even have a chance to refute it, because what Bai-yu said was the truth, he peed his pants. When the others heard Bai-yu's mocking words, they couldn't help but snicker at the young man. The laughter around him suddenly made the boy lose face and dignity, and finally he couldn't bear it anymore, turned around and ran down the mountain. Bai-yu didn't mean to move the young man, but shook his head with some disappointment, and quickly withdrew the ghost-slashing knife into its scabbard. Tanjiro witnessed everything just now, and seeing Bai-yu's performance, Tanjiro knew that Bai-yu was even more powerful than half a year ago. "Senior Bai-yu, if you run away with people like this, won't it be a little unfriendly?" Tanjiro also felt that Bai-yu's words were a bit too much, so he reminded Bai-yu that he wanted Bai-yu to be friendly to the people around him. Bai-yu didn't feel anything wrong, so he replied, "It's good to run, otherwise you will be eaten by a ghost, and it will be even worse. I really don't know who taught the good apprentice, and if you don't have the strength to dare to participate in the selection, you really don't fear death." In this regard, Bai-yu couldn't help but complain. Saying that, Bai-yu returned to the lowly girl again. The lowly girl still maintained a dull expression as always, as if she was not obsessed by Bai-yu's posture just now. Bai-yu knew that his hand just now was definitely full. This can't charm this lowly girl, it's really abnormal. In this case, there are only two possibilities: either this lowly girl is more powerful than herself, and her performance just now is not enough to make her have any fluctuations, or this lowly girl lacks roots in her brain. Chapter 30. Little sister, how are you thinking about it? Do you want to team up together? Bai-yu continued to ask. At this time, the lowly girl looked at the white feather squarely, and then took out a coin from her clothes and threw it into the air, and finally took it back into her hand. Then, the lowly girl looked at the coin, and then said to Bai Yu, "I'm sorry, master," she explained that I can only rely on myself. After that, the lowly girl returned to her dull expression. Seeing that this lowly girl refused, Bai Yu did not force it. For such a strange personality, Bai Yu is also the first time to meet. This girl will not have autism. Let's go. Tanjiro, the girls are unwilling. In the future, this kind of pickup, you still don't push it to your senior brother. I will do it. Bai Yu immediately found an excuse to ease the embarrassment of his rejection. Hearing this, Tanjiro jumped directly onto Bai Yu, and then pinched Bai Yu's neck and wrung it for himself. "Senior Bai Yu, obviously you took the initiative to pick up people, what does it matter to me? It's not right for you to slander me like that." "I know. Tanjiro, let go." After 2 years of training, Tanjiro's hand was very strong, and Bai Yu was a little breathless. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to make a move on Tanjiro, Tanjiro would have been thrown by Bai Yu and gnawed mud. After all, it is the same door, and Bai Yu still has to save some face for Tanjiro. While Shiraiha and Tanjiro were fighting, 2 big-eyed girls in purple kimonos appeared in the clearing with lanterns, and the little girl wore a headdress made of wisteria flowers on her hair. Seeing the little girl who appeared, Tanjiro released Shiraiha and jumped off Hakuha. Bai Yu also sorted out the crumpled clothes of Tanjiro for the first time, and then looked at the 2 little girls. The most striking thing is naturally the big eyes of the little girl, and the overly cute little face. "Thank you for coming tonight for the final selection of the Ghost Killer team. In this vine-raided mountain, the ghosts captured alive by the ghost hunters are imprisoned, but the ghosts have not left. Because from the foothills to the mountainside, wisteria flowers that ghosts hate bloom all year round, and the venom on the wisteria flowers can kill those ghosts. And a large number of wisteria flowers bloomed, which also made the air of the vine attack mountain died with a thin toxicity. But rest assured, as long as you don't accidentally eat wisteria flowers or wisteria flower fruits, the toxins in the air will not have any effect on people. But ahead of this, there will be no more wisteria flowers, and there will be ghosts. Living here for 7 days is the eligibility criteria for passing the final selection. So, please go all the way." The 2 big-eyed little lowly said to all the personnel participating in the selection in the open space one by one. That delicate voice made Bai Yu show an evil smile, and then licked his lips. However, Bai Yu wore a disaster elimination mask, so Bai Yu's somewhat strange expression was not seen. As the big-eyed little lowly finished explaining the matter, everyone headed towards the depths of the vine attack mountain, and walked into the darkness where there were no wisteria flowers blooming. "Tanjiro, let's go," Hakuha said to Tanjiro. Tanjiro nodded, and then he and Hakuba stepped into the darkness of the depths of Fujisan Mountain. After everyone entered the selection field, several masked ghost-killing squads blocked the only way down the mountain. This posture is obviously there is no turning back. Chapter 31. Mission: completely eliminate all ghosts on the Vine Attack Mountain. Mission completion reward: get the Breath of Wood, Mastery, Ghost Devourer level increased to D level, D level Ghost Devourer, can devour with blood. Ghost Art Mission failure punishment: host life loss of 20 years, the current host life is still 81 years left. Just after Bai Yu officially stepped into the depths of the Vine Attack Mountain, the super-dimensional crossing system suddenly released a mission. After reading the details of the tasks released by the system, Bai Yu was a little speechless. Is this system going to put itself to death this time? Can't we keep a low profile? Why do you have to kill them all? And what does this remaining 81-year lifespan mean? Is it so short-lived? This is also too inconsistent with the identity of his dimensional traverser. Bai Yu, who muttered in his heart, was helpless. Especially after knowing his exact lifespan, although as a person, living 100 years old is considered a long life, but if the mission fails, it will be cut by 20 years, which makes Bai Yu particularly uncomfortable. Is his life so worthless? Say reduce life, reduce life. However, in this way, his original plan was disrupted. Without this task, according to the requirements of the selection, he only needs to take Tanjiro leisurely to live on Fuji Attack Mountain for 7 days, and then go down the mountain. Because Baiyu felt that the number of ghosts imprisoned in Vine Attack Mountain should not be too large, at most not more than 200. Coupled with the fact that the Vine Attack Mountain is so big, the chance of hitting ghost will not be high. And ghosts come out at night, so it's safe to have 12 hours of the day. In this way, Baiyu felt that his survival rate with Tanjiro must be 100%. But after the system released this task, the situation changed completely. Baiyu couldn't pass the selection by dragging time like before. After all, Baiyu didn't want to lose 20 years of life. Even if he lived to 80, it was enough, and the remaining 20 years didn't matter. However, how to say, it is all your own life, can you say no, don't want it? In this way, Baiyu must go all over the mountain to find ghosts to kill, and finally kill all ghosts in Fuji Attack Mountain. That's a big job. For the reward of the task, Baiyu was also a little puzzled. This wooden breath does not seem to be the breath of the 5 major breathing schools, and it does not seem to be a derivative of other breaths. It feels like a breath independent of these breaths. But what is the use of this wooden breath? Will it improve your own strength? Senior Baiyu, what's wrong with you? Tanjiro shouted as he looked at the suddenly startled white feather. Tanjiro's call made Baiyu come back from his thoughts, and then Baiyu shook his head and said, Tanjiro, we have to separate after entering the mountain. Hearing this, Tanjiro didn't understand a little, so he asked, why separate? Didn't the master tell us to try not to separate? Because I have something to deal with, this situation will only be more dangerous if you follow me. Baiyu explained lightly. Tanjiro, you have to believe in your own strength, even if you don't follow me, you have the strength to survive. I will carve water patterns on tree trunks where I have been, and as long as you see such watermarks on tree trunks, it means that the place is safe. Don't follow me. Because that would be very dangerous. As if he was not very comfortable with Tanjiro, Baiyu gave Tanjiro encouragement again, and then finally explained. Chapter 32. As soon as Baiyu's words fell, the air in the place where Baiyu had just stood had a violent shock, and the next moment, Baiyu's figure disappeared without a trace from all of Tanjiro's perceptions. Tanjiro wanted to chase, but there was no smell of Baiyu around, there was no residue of any smell. Tanjiro immediately understood, Baiyu really didn't want to follow him this time. Has Senior Baiyu been able to breathe to such an extent? Tanjiro was stunned. Without Baiyu by his side, Tanjiro was always a little uneasy. Tanjiro couldn't help but retreat, looking back at the retreat that had been blocked by the masked men of the ghost-killing team. At this moment, a yellow-haired boy came to Tanjiro's side, and then said to Tanjiro, that, I call my wife Shanyi, what about the very powerful senior who was with you just now? Why is he missing? Tanjiro looked at the yellow-haired boy who called my wife Zanai in front of him, and from the tone of his voice, Tanjiro sensed that he was very afraid and nervous. Hello, my name is Tanjiro Stove. The person you are talking about is my senior brother, his name is Baiyu, and I usually call him Baiyu Senior. In the face of my wife's pickup, Tanjiro also introduced himself amicably. Oh. So where did the others go to Baiyu Senior? My wife Shanyi continued to ask. I don't know. He only told me that he had something to deal with, and then he separated from me, and asked me not to follow him. Do you have anything to do with him? Tanjiro briefly explained the situation of Shimohakuba, and then asked my wife Zenji what was going on with Shiraiha. Hearing this, my wife Shanyi immediately fell into the quagmire of fear, and kept muttering in her mouth, such words are really going to die. To die Tanjiro, I'm not married yet. I don't want to die here. Just when Tanjiro didn't understand why my wife Zenji was like this, my wife Zenji suddenly cried with a sad face, and then hugged Tanjiro's thigh and cried. Tanjiro obviously didn't expect to encounter such a situation, but seeing my wife Zenji so timid and afraid, Tanjiro's kindness was completely stimulated. I saw Tanjiro touch my wife Shanyi's head, and then soothed, "It's okay, I'll protect you." "Really? Then are you powerful with Baiyu Sr.?" As if seeing hope, my wife Shanyi immediately put away the emotions she had just cried and mourned. "Although I am not as powerful as Baiyu Sr., I will definitely protect you," Tanjiro said confidently. "Thank you so much, Tanjiro." My wife Zenji gave Tanjiro a big hug. Although my wife Shanyi is timid, this does not mean that my wife Shanyi is a fool. Even though Tanjiro admits that he is not as powerful as Shiraiha, my wife Zenji is very relieved to seek Tanjiro's protection. In addition to the trust in Tanjiro, there is more trust in Shiraiha for making this choice. Because my wife Zenji felt that if Baiyu could leave Tanjiro alone like this, he must have confidence in Tanjiro's strength. However, my wife Shanyi did not expect that his grandfather allowed him to participate in the selection of the ghost-killing team, which was also an affirmation of him. But because of her personality, my wife Shanyi was not clear about her potential. And Tanjiro did not know at this time that the yellow-haired boy he met, my wife Shanyi, was actually an existence who played a role in turning the tide of the war at a critical moment. "Let's go." "Good joy." Tanjiro patted my wife Zenji on the shoulder and said. Chapter 33. After that, Tanjiro and my wife Zenji went deep into the Fuji attack mountain while inquiring about each other's situation. In the conversation with each other, the two gradually became acquainted. It's just that the lone Baiyu doesn't know that under his own influence, the timeline of my wife Zenji and Tanjiro getting acquainted has advanced. The development of the story also gradually shifted from the original direction from this time. And Baiyu, who had already entered the depths of the Vine Attack Mountain, soon ran into a ghost that blocked his way. This ghost has been locked up in Wisteria Mountain for a long time, and has long been hungry/thirsty for human flesh. After seeing Baiyu, Ghost S. Hareza has flowed uncontrollably, and the disgusting look makes people stunned when they see it. Baiyu stopped and said with some disgust, "What a disgusting guy." The Ghost Slayer finally got the food in. What a mouth-watering taste. Ghost had already regarded Baiyu as food ready to eat into his stomach, and couldn't help but let out an extremely oozing smile. However, the next moment, the laughter of the ghost stopped abruptly, and the figure of Baiyu had appeared behind Ghost. The breath of water, the type of one, the surface of the water / Baiyu's mouth said lightly, and after speaking, the ghost slashing knife that came out of the sheath was once again put into the scabbard by Baiyu. In the next second, Ghost S head rolled to the ground, and at the moment of near death, Ghost S eyes showed fear and disbelief. "How can you be so powerful?" As Ghost S last words blurted out, Ghost S body and head quickly turned into ashes and completely dissipated from this world. After solving this ghost, Baiyu carved a water pattern mark on the nearby tree trunk. Then, Baiyu continued to look for the next target non-stop, and according to the minimap given by the superdimensional system, Baiyu quickly rushed towards the nearest red dot. The ghost of Fuji Attack Mountain has been marked on the minimap with red dots by the superdimension, and with this help, Baiyu does not have to go around looking for targets like a headless fly. However, this minimap is not available 24 hours a day, but only appears during the time when Ghost is infested. Baiyu estimated that this should be set up by the system to prevent himself from killing ghosts during the day. After all, ghosts are afraid of the sun, so during the day ghosts can only hide. If Baiyu goes to kill ghosts through this radar minimap at this time, the ghosts will not be able to escape at all, and can only be reduced to lambs to be slaughtered, and let Baiyu slaughter. It seems that the superdimensional crossing system does not want to complete the task too easily, and only allows itself to move at night. Of course, Baiyu can naturally choose to act during the day, but without the radar minimap, it is difficult for Baiyu to find the trace of Ghost during the day. Even if you can find it, it will be 1 or 2 at most. Therefore, Bai-yu naturally does not torture himself so much and exhausts himself into a dog. Don't come here. I don't want to be eaten. When Bai-yu arrived, Ghost had already knocked a teenager down and gnawed at his neck mercilessly. At this moment, Bai-yu jumped in the air, and in mid-air a water breath, 2-type, water wheel, the ghost slashing knife in Bai-yu's hand suddenly drew a circular trajectory. And the water spray produced by the rhythm of water could be seen on the circular trajectory, and then Ghost's neck was cut off by the water wheel. The ghost who was about to gnaw the boy instantly turned into ashes, and the boy was spared the fate of being eaten. Chapter 34. Although Bai-yu made a move and saved a life, the boy was still bitten on the neck, and blood suddenly stained his clothes red along the boy's neck. Bai-yu did not care too much about the injured teenager, but looked down at the boy lying on the ground condescendingly, and then asked lightly, "Can't die, right?" The young man looked at Bai-yu in surprise. He still had an impression of Bai-yu. After all, Bai-yu was showing his hand in front of everyone at that time, which could be described as shocking the audience. The young man shook his head, and then said with some pain enduring, "Thank you. If you want to survive, go to the place where the trunk is marked with water patterns." Bai-yu said lightly to the young man. After that, Bai-yu did not stay any longer and continued to rush towards the next target. "Am I still too weak?" The young man looked at Bai-yu who left, and he couldn't help but have a new understanding of himself in his heart. In the time that followed, one ghost after another died under Bai-yu's ghost-slashing knife. It's not that Bai-yu is too strong, but these ghosts used for selection tests are too weak. Because they are imprisoned here, there are naturally not many people who can eat these ghosts, and their strength naturally cannot be enhanced. In this process, Bai-yu did not bump into the lowly girl who had picked up before. This made Bai-yu feel a little abnormal, because he was looking for ghosts and killing ghosts all over the mountain, and there should be a possibility of bumping into her. After all, those who came to participate in the selection, Bai-yu basically met all over and over again. Even Tanjiro Bai-yu bumped into it, but the lowly girl never saw anyone. When he bumped into Tanjiro, Shiraiha was selectively staggered with Tanjiro, so the two did not really meet, because Shiraiha had to let Tanjiro really face Ghost and let Tanjiro experience what he should have experienced. Soon, the one-night hunt was over, and as the rising sun rose, those surviving ghosts hid into the Vine Attack Mountain. Bai-yu spent one night sweeping the 3-kilometer radius, and Bai-yu estimated that those ghosts who were still alive should have hid in the deeper part of the Vine Attack Mountain. It was also because of Bai-yu's cleanup that night that all the teenagers who came to participate in the selection gathered together and discussed Bai-yu's motives for doing so that night. Some people think that Bai-yu did this because Bai-yu hated Ghost to the bone, so he looked for Ghost everywhere to vent the hatred in his heart. Some people also say that Bai-yu did this to attract the attention of the ghost-killing team, and then get better treatment in the ghost-killing team. Of course, there was everything to say, and Bai-yu's behavior became the focus of these teenagers' discussions. Tanjiro took my wife Zanaya just in time to bump into these gathered teenagers, and when he heard them talking about Hakuba, Tanjiro inquired. The teenagers saw that Tanjiro also had a similar disaster mask to Shiraiha, so the teenagers naturally respected Tanjiro and told Tanjiro what they knew. "Tanjiro, your family's white feather seniors are so windy. We didn't have time to hide, and he actually looked for ghosts to kill all over the world." When my wife Shanyi heard Bai-yu's deeds on the side, she couldn't help but marvel. Tanjiro ignored my wife Zenji, and after knowing what Shiraiha did, Tanjiro was also a little shocked and puzzled at the same time. Why did Bai-yu go all over the world looking for ghosts to kill? As long as you live safely for 7 days, don't you know? As for tossing yourself so much? Or did Bai-yu do this to clear all obstacles for himself? Chapter 35. Tanjiro, as long as Senior Shiraiba kills all the ghosts of Fuji Attack Mountain, we will be completely safe. My wife Shanyi is already fantasizing about this perfect ending. Tanjiro still didn't take care of my wife Zenyi, and after one night with him, Tanjiro knew that my wife Zenyi was not only timid, but also a talker. So for the nonsense that my wife Zenyi said, Tanjiro generally chose to ignore it. However, after Tanjiro knew that Haku was doing such a dangerous thing, he began to worry about Hakuha. Shanyi, we have to find Baiyu Senior quickly. Tanjiro said to my wife Zenji at this time. Hearing this, my wife Shanyi was a little puzzled and asked, Tanjiro, Senior Baiyu is looking for ghosts to kill everywhere, we have nothing to do to make fun. Maybe it will hinder Baiyu Senior. When Tanjiro heard this, he knew that my wife Zenji didn't really want to go with him, so he didn't force it, so he said, okay then. Then you follow them, and I'll go to Baiyu Senpai alone. Seeing that Tanjiro was going to leave himself, my wife Shanyi was suddenly unhappy, and after a night of getting along, my wife Shanyi also had certain feelings for Tanjiro, and had an understanding and trust in Tanjiro's strength. Tanjiro, don't leave me, these people were all rescued by Hakuha seniors, and it's not safe to follow them. I really want to meet ghosts, they can't protect me, I still have to live to find a girl to marry. My wife Zenji immediately grabbed Tanjiro and wouldn't let Tanjiro leave. My wife Shanyi's words immediately aroused the dissatisfaction of the teenagers around them, although my wife Shanyi said the truth, but they felt that even if they couldn't beat the ghost, it would not be the turn of a coward to belittle them. Stinky boy, what do you say, believe it or not, I'll slaughter you now. Coward, you're looking for a beating. Bayo, what qualifications do you have to say us, you coward? Countless taunts of my wife Shanyi swarmed back, and the timid wife Shanyi immediately shrunk behind Tanjiro, and then said in fear, Tanjiro, they are too terrifying, I don't want to follow them. Seeing the situation, Tanjiro also knows that my wife Zenji is hated by these teenagers, plus my wife Zenji's words are indeed very right, if not for Baiyu's cleaning and rescue yesterday, these teenagers who are recuperating here should have been eaten by ghosts. So let my wife Shanyi follow them, it is estimated that I will be bullied. Everyone listen to me, since everyone is gathered together, it is better to follow me to find Baiyu Senior. Tanjiro also had the idea of pulling up this team at this time, if everyone acts together, I believe that the survival rate will be even higher, even if they encounter ghosts, everyone can take care of each other. Tanjiro's words made many people fall into deep thought, and the atmosphere suddenly calmed down. After experiencing the moment of life and death, they see their life more important. No one answered Tanjiro's call, and everyone wanted to stay in the safe zone marked by Shiraiha and spend 7 days safely. That I have injuries on my body, I will also be a burden to go with me, forget it. This is a teenager with a more serious injury who is the first to respond to Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro looked at the boy, his right forearm with the knife was missing, the broken arm had been simply bandaged with the clothes on his body, and the bleeding had stopped. This was obviously interrupted by Ghost yesterday, and he was really not suitable to follow him to find Baiyu. Chapter 36. Tanjiro nodded and didn't say anything more. With the opening of the first person, the other teenagers who had suffered different degrees of injury rejected Tanjiro on this ground. In the end, only a few bloody, bold teenagers who were not seriously injured and chose to go with Tanjiro to find Shiraiha. After deciding on the team to follow, Tanjiro looked for the only girl among these people who came to participate in the final selection. After searching for it several times, Tanjiro still did not see the girl's figure. Isn't she among these people? Where would that be? Or has something wrong with her? Didn't Senior Baiyu save that girl? Tanjiro, who was overflowing with sympathy, couldn't help but worry about the girl in his heart. In order to find Baiyu faster, the group simply took a short rest, and took advantage of the safe period of the day to embark on the road to find Baiyu. A place that runs through the depths of the cave, in an incomparably dark environment, the ghosts of Fuji Attack Mountain are gathered here. Although this place can't reach out for 5 fingers, for ghosts, their eyes can clearly see everything here. A huge and deformed ghost slowly walked into the empty center of this underground. And this ghost is not only huge, but also has densely packed large and small arms on its torso. What's going on? Why are you all gathered in my mansion today? The ghost, who was covered in arms, asked leisurely. Looking at the posture, this ghost should be the most powerful ghost in Fuji Raid Mountain. Lord Hand Ghost, there was a ruthless man among the personnel selected by the ghost killing team last night, and many of our compatriots died tragically at his hands. Yes. Hand Ghost, we are not his opponents at all, and please come forward to help us solve him. Trouble Hand Ghost Sama. Trouble Hand Ghost Sama. As Ghost explained the situation to Hand Ghost, all ghosts gathered under the ground asked Hand Ghost to take action one by one. Hearing this, Hand Ghost laughed a few times, and then said, "You guys are really a shame of Ghost, even a little furry child can't solve it." Rubbish. How powerful can a little furry kid who came to participate in the selection be? Won't you work together to kill him? In the face of the questioning of Hand Ghost, all ghosts below are silent. In the face of Hand Ghosts who are stronger than them, these little ghosts naturally dare not rebel against it, because the harmony between ghosts and ghosts is not as harmonious as it seems now. If you are not careful, these low-strength ghosts will be killed or eaten by Hand Ghosts at any time. The surrounding air was quiet for a while, and Hand Ghost suddenly remembered something, and then asked, "Is that boy wearing a fox-like mask?" Yes. Hand Ghost Sama, that very powerful little ghost head does wear a fox-like mask. One of them, Ghost, who witnessed Baiyu's slaughter last night, replied. Hearing this, Hand Ghost's evil and strange eyes suddenly became angry and vicious. All ghosts are frightened by the change in Hand Ghost's mood, for fear that he will suddenly implicate himself because of this riot. Taki, that old guy's apprentice? Old immortal thing. Hand Ghost said very resentfully. Chapter 37. The reason why Hand Ghost resents Taki Zojinji so much is because he is imprisoned in Fuji Attack Mountain, all thanks to Taki Zojinji. Not long after it became a ghost, Hand Ghost was captured alive by Taki Zo and returned to Fuji Attack Mountain. He became the examiner of the final selection of Fuji Raid Mountain, and Hand Ghost, because of the power of resentment, ate a lot of teenagers on Fuji Attack Mountain to participate in the final selection, including Taki Zo's apprentices in the early batch. It is also because of this that Hand Ghost has become the most powerful ghost on Fuji Attack Mountain, and has lived to this day. Tonight, all ghosts go out and join me to destroy that little ghost. Bloodbath the selection team this time. Hand Ghost Xian issued an order to surround and suppress Baiyu to all ghosts gathered here. Long live Lord Hand Ghost! Long live Lord Hand Ghost! Long live Lord Hand Ghost! Deep into the underground cave, more than 10 meters underground, the cheers of all the ghosts sounded. Baiyu, who was eating dry food in the shade of the tree, did not know that his behavior had aroused the hatred of all the ghosts in Fuji Raid Mountain, and he had become the target of all the ghosts. At this time, Baiyu was still waiting for the arrival of night, and then continued to complete the tasks assigned to him by the system. And Tanjiro is looking for Baiyu all the way, but he doesn't know that Tanjiro's behavior makes the crisis approach him little by little. Baiyu, who was leaning against the shade of the tree at night, opened his eyes and stood up. The radar minimap of the superdimensional crossing system has also been displayed, and now the white feather does not see the appearance of red dots on the map, and it is estimated that it will take a while for Ghost to fully come out of the activity. And Tanjiro sighed, because he mistakenly thought that Baiyu went deep into the Fuji Attack Mountain in order to kill ghosts, so Tanjiro has been leading the team deep. As everyone knows, after killing the ghost that night, Baiyu has been resting in a safe area marked by his own water pattern, and did not choose to continue to go deep into the Vine Attack Mountain. Therefore, Tanjiro and Shiraiha were completely staggered. Tanjiro, will Hakuba-senpai deliberately avoid us? We've been looking for this for a day, and we haven't seen anyone else. You said wait a minute, what if we encounter a ghost? My wife, Shanyi, complained a little tiredly. Tanjiro's expression was solemn, and he did not answer my wife's words. Until dark, Shiraha hadn't been found, and Tanjiro began to wonder if his decision might be a mistake. Going so deep into the vine attack mountain, if you encounter any accidents, can you cope with it? Just when he was in self-doubt, Tanjiro's nose smelled an extremely strong smell, and this smell was the smell of ghost. There is a situation, Tanjiro suddenly said in a deep voice. When Tanjiro spoke, my wife Zenji immediately hugged Tanjiro deadly, and then shouted, "Tanjiro! You're going to scare people to death." Tanjiro was a little helpless, but he was obviously used to my wife's reaction, so Tanjiro carefully sniffed the smell, only to find that the source of the smell was rapidly approaching his direction. As the smell gets closer, these smells become extremely complex, not like there is only one ghost smell, but a very large ghost. "Run down the hill!" Tanjiro suddenly shouted, and Tanjiro hesitated a little, and the sense of crisis in his body made him make a very decisive decision. However, as soon as the words fell, before everyone could take a step, several black shadows burst out from the trees and suddenly blocked in front of everyone. Chapter 38. Really appeared. Tanjiro. This is really going to be eaten. My wife Shanyi said in horror and despair. Tanjiro looked solemn, and then ripped my wife Zenyi off his body, and then yelled at him, "Zenyi, cheer up a little. Now is not the time to be discouraged. Hurry up and hide behind me." The other teenagers who were with them also gritted their teeth and encountered 5 ghosts at once, making them extremely desperate. Just encountering one ghost almost killed them, and now, at the same time, if you encounter 5, I am afraid that there will be no bones that will be gnawed. Tanjiro has it behind. My wife Shanyi screamed at the top of her throat. Facing so many ghosts at once, my wife Shanyi is also the first time in her life. Shouting, my wife Shanyi finally couldn't bear it anymore and completely fainted. Tanjiro turned to look and found that several ghosts had also appeared behind him. I'm really going to die here this time. The teenagers who followed Tanjiro to look for Shiraba had a desperate look on their faces. Tanjiro didn't expect that my wife Shanyi was directly frightened by this situation, but now Tanjiro has no time to take care of my wife Shanyi, so he can only kick my wife Shanyi with his foot, and then shout, "Shanyi, wake up! Now is not the time to sleep." However, what Tanjiro did not awaken my wife Zenji, and after Tanjiro tried to no avail, he had to ignore it for the time being. Hey, Fox Mask! It seems that we have found it. The ghosts who surrounded Tanjiro and the others laughed. Hold them and wait for Lord Hand Ghost to come and deal with this guy. The other ghosts said. On the other side, Baiyu headed towards the depths of the Vine Attack Mountain, but after a long time, there was no ghost mark on the minimap, which made Baiyu feel a little strange. Could it be that yesterday's own behavior scared ghosts? Now these ghosts don't dare to come out and move? Helpless, Baiyu had to continue to go deeper to see if these ghosts were hiding in the deepest part of the Vine Attack Mountain. Baiyu didn't know that because of his own reasons, Tanjiro and the others were now in a very dangerous situation. And Tanjiro doesn't know that his wife, Zenji, who follows him because of fear, is a key factor in helping him turn the tide of the war. Surrounded by Ghost, Tanjiro, an invisible huge pressure pressed him, and the cold sweat on his forehead was already falling continuously. For a long time, Tanjiro found that these ghosts did not seem to have any intention of attacking, as if waiting for something. His body's intuition was telling Tanjiro that he must break this frozen situation quickly, otherwise if it dragged on, the situation would only fall into a more dangerous situation. Tanjiro, who had calmed down, began to adjust his breathing, and the saber in the scabbard had been unsheathed by Tanjiro. The ghost who surrounded Tanjiro and the others saw Tanjiro draw his knife, and immediately took a few steps back in fear. Uni's move was clearly seen by Tanjiro. Suddenly, Tanjiro also fell. This ghost is afraid of himself? If you are afraid of yourself, then why do you stop yourself? Tanjiro, whose train of thought was spinning quickly, suddenly had a flash of inspiration and immediately understood. This ghost is not afraid of themselves, what they are really afraid of is actually their own senior brother, Bai-yu. Obviously. Bai-yu's massacre last night left a shadow on these ghosts. Chapter 39. Such an abnormal collective activity of these ghosts is obviously aimed at Bai-yu's predecessors, but he is mistaken for Bai-yu by these ghosts. The reason why he was mistaken for Shiraba by these ghosts was quickly discovered by Tanjiro, that is, a fox-like disaster mask similar to Shiraha. Tanjiro's thoughts flashed quickly, and in just one breath, Tanjiro, who knew the reason, had a bold plan. "Wait for me to kill a bloody road out, you guys hurry up and carry this guy Shanyi on your back and run down the mountain." Tanjiro whispered orders to the boy who was walking with him. Hearing this, the boy also retreated behind Tanjiro, and then carried my wife Zenji on his back. Just when Tanjiro and the others moved, Ghost saw Tanjiro's intentions and already had Tanjiro's scruples, so Ghost behind him immediately launched an attack on people other than Tanjiro. 10 ghosts pounced on everyone at the same time. Tanjiro remembered Bai-yu's words of encouragement at this moment of crisis, and with a confident Tanjiro, he suddenly successfully launched the breath of water, the 3-shape, flowing dance. Water breath, 3 shapes, flowing dance uses footwork to attack enemies while moving quickly, and the movement of moving clouds and flowing water is similar to dancing, hence the name flowing dance. As Tanjiro started the breath of water, the 3-shaped and flowing dance, Tanjiro's figure was like flowing water quickly shuttling around everyone, and the moment Ghost approached, the Nikki knife in Tanjiro's hand was cut down the line of gap. The light and shadow of the blade dangled through the eyes of each ghost, and as the light and shadow dissipated, the heads of 10 ghosts were all cut off by Tanjiro. Looking at the 10 ghosts who were decapitated by himself at once, Tanjiro's excitement could not be calmed for a long time, and he actually did what he thought was impossible. Because of Hakuba's existence, Tanjiro's aura has always been covered, and he himself has always had doubts about himself. Just when Tanjiro was shocked by his operation just now, the dangerous smell suddenly stimulated Tanjiro's nerves, and suddenly made Tanjiro come back from the shock. "Run!" Tanjiro suddenly shouted. Immediately, everyone started to run down the mountain. They didn't expect Tanjiro to be so powerful. But on the other hand, Bai-yu and Tanjiro are out of the same house, and how bad can Tanjiro be as a junior disciple? Just as everyone ran out on their front feet, a large number of ghosts chased out behind them. The mighty posture is like playing a song of death. Tanjiro took the opportunity to look back, and he also gasped, roughly calculating, there were at least 50 ghosts. These ghosts are like mad dogs on illness, chasing Tanjiro and the others madly. "Senior Bai-yu, is this the trouble you provoked? It's really going to kill people." Tanjiro ran wildly, complaining in his heart. "I already knew that in this way, I shouldn't have looked for Bai-yu, so that I was treated as Bai-yu by these ghost groups." At this moment, the boy carrying my wife Shanyi on his back broke his foot in the run, and as a result, my wife Shanyi and the boy fell to the ground. The teenager instinctively wanted to stand up again, but the pain in his feet stimulated his nerves and made him unable to stand up for a short time. Tanjiro stopped abruptly, but the other teenagers did not stop, but ran down the mountain vigorously. Tanjiro knew that he couldn't stop them, so he ignored them and turned around to rescue the boy with a broken foot and his fainting wife Zanai. Chapter 40. At this time, Bai-yu went all the way deeper, and as Bai-yu went deeper, Bai-yu found that a small red area appeared on the small map. Looking closely, Bai-yu found that this was not a red area, but a large red dot. Because there are so many red dots, it is mistaken for a red area when viewed on the map. But such red dots come together, which is obviously abnormal. If the map doesn't show the problem, it's that the ghosts of Fujisan Mountain are all gathered together. But why did these ghosts suddenly gather together? After observing for a few seconds, Bai-yu found that these red dots seemed to be moving rapidly, as if they were chasing something. Looks like I'll have to go check on the situation. Bai Yu muttered, so he accelerated his speed and rushed towards the place. Halfway through, Bai Yu met the teenagers who had left Tanjiro and the others, and Bai Yu saw them running for their lives, so he stopped them. Seeing the white feather wearing a fox-style mask in front of them, several people stopped one after another. Because Bai Yu had rescued them, they recognized Bai Yu at once. What happened? Bai Yu threw the question directly. Senior Hakuha, your junior brother Tanjiro is in danger. Many ghosts have gathered together to act. You go and rescue him. The man did not talk nonsense, and explained the situation clearly in a simple sentence. Although many details are missing, those are not important. The important thing is that Tanjiro is in danger now. Bai Yu didn't ask more, and instantly disappeared in front of several teenagers. At this moment, Bai Yu rushed towards the place where the red dots gathered at the fastest speed. Tanjiro was trying to lift my wife Zanai up, but the ghosts had already bitten him. The boy who was beside my wife Shanyi seemed to accept the end of going to drink tea with Yan Wanjai, so he said to Tanjiro who stopped him, "Leave us alone. Come on. Or you'll die here too." But Tanjiro didn't pay attention to the words of the boy with his feet, and under the trend of kindness, Tanjiro still rushed forward. However, Tanjiro was still one step slower, and the ghost tide suddenly drowned my wife Zenji and the boy with a foot. Don't. Tanjiro couldn't accept this fact and called out at once. The next moment, I saw a flash of yellow thunder, and the ghost tide that drowned my wife Shanyi and the young man with broken feet was suddenly thrown out. Tanjiro fixed his eyes and found that my wife Zenji was standing up, with a trace of thunder on her body. Ghost tide was swept away, and immediately ghost pounced again. My wife Shanyi's eyes were closed, and the whole person had already made a gesture of drawing her sword and attacking. Thunder breath, one type, thunderbolt flash. Then my wife Shanyi inhaled and muttered in her mouth. In an instant, the whole person flashed like thunder and lightning, and the ghost who pounced again died under the knife of my wife Shanyi. Tanjiro was a little lost in thought, and even the boy with a broken foot was already dumbfounded. No one thought that my wife Shanyi, who was timid and afraid of death, actually had such strength. After a brief shock, Tanjiro knew that my wife Zenji alone could not turn the situation around, so Tanjiro immediately came to my wife Zanayashi's side and launched another supplementary attack during the gap between my wife's attack. The breath of water, the unbridled type, the tide of blows. Chapter 41. Water breath, unbridled type, strike tide throws out the wave of the knife path, continuously and uninterrupted slashing at the enemy, can be used against multiple enemies, is a move that can cause group damage to the enemy. In an emergency, Tanjiro used the wanton form of the breath of water, and the Nikki knife that Takizu Ozo had recently given to Tanjiro set off waves visible to the naked eye under the dance of his arm, and these waves were the rhythm of water produced by the breath of water. Seize the opportunity and get out of here. As Tanjiro slashed at the rushing Oni tide, he shouted at the boy with his feet under pressure. Although the situation is temporarily controlled by Tanjiro and my wife Zanai, there are so many ghosts that the situation will get out of control again after a while. Seeing that the situation was temporarily under control, the boy endured the pain in his ankle, gritted his teeth and stood up, and then limped towards a safe place. However, there were too many ghosts, and a ghost who slipped through the net suddenly pounced on the boy with broken feet. Not good. Tanjiro wanted to pull out to help the young man with his feet out of the siege, but this distraction, the situation began to get out of control, and many ghosts had bitten Tanjiro's thigh, so painful that Tanjiro was breathing out of control all of a sudden. It's over. Tanjiro also desperately felt desperate. On my wife's side, he frantically dodged Ghost's attacks. Thunder breath, one type, thunderbolt flash. Thunder breath, one type, thunderbolt flash. Thunder breath, one type, thunderbolt flash. However, as my wife Shanyi continuously released the breath of thunder, one type, a thunderbolt flashed, my wife Shanyi's physical exertion was extremely fast, and finally with the fall of the fourth attack, my wife Shanyi also inexplicably fell into fainting again. At this very critical time, Bai Yu arrived in time. The breath of water, the shape of three, the flow of dance. Hakuba, who arrived at a critical moment, appeared using the water breath that Tanjiro had used before, and the three-way shape, flowing dance. Compared to Tanjiro's flowing dance, Shiraiha's flowing dance is more crisp and neat, and at the same time, the speed is one level faster than Tanjiro. The breath of water, the unbridled type, the tide of blows. While using the flowing dance, Bai Yu once again used the water breath, the wanton shape, and the strike tide, and the two moves were launched at the same time, which was just right for the accuracy of breathing control and the change of breathing rhythm. Tanjiro, my wife Zenji, and the ghost around the boy with a foot completely disintegrated under the attack of Shiraiha. After Bai Yu temporarily controlled the situation, he grabbed the young man with a broken foot, and then threw it out into the distance. Then, Bai Yu threw out the comatose wife Shanyi in the same way again. Finally, Bai Yu came to Tanjiro and asked, "Are you okay, Tanjiro?" Tanjiro shook his head, his desperate expression showing hope, and his heart was relieved at the same time. "Tanjiro, regain control of your breathing, the battle is not over yet." Seeing that Tanjiro's injuries were not serious, Hakuba reminded Tanjiro to regain control of his breathing. Tanjiro, who regained control of his breathing, soon entered the fighting state again, and the blood from the wound was also stopped under the suppression of breathing. Bai Yu's shot caught everyone by surprise, and after feeling the momentum exuding from Bai Yu's body, and witnessing the death of their kind, they were all rational and afraid. Chapter 42. Many ghosts, who were very afraid of Shiraiha, did not continue to attack Shiraiha and Tanjiro, but gradually surrounded Shiraiha and Tanjiro, and these ghosts also tried to narrow the encirclement. Seeing this, Tanjiro couldn't help but ask Bai Yu, "Senior Bai Yu, what should we do now?" When Bai Yu saw the ghost group gathered in a pile, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but bend, and he smiled faintly. "Of course, kill them all." Bai Yu couldn't wait to start. At this moment, the ghosts who formed the encirclement couldn't help but withdraw from the road, and just when Shiraiha and Tanjiro thought that these ghosts would not want to let them go, the huge and completely deformed hand ghost leisurely appeared in the sight of Shiraiha and Tanjiro. Tanjiro gasped. He was so huge and deformed to the point of being extremely ugly. It was the first time Tanjiro had met. What the hell did this guy go through to become this disgusting look? The appearance of Hand Ghost made Bai Yu also secretly vigilant. If he faced the Hand Ghost alone, Bai Yu would not be so cautious, because Bai Yu had the certainty of killing Hand Ghost. However, the current situation is obviously not dominated by his own side, so Bai Yu must be cautious. Twitter. Seeing Shiraiha and Tanjiro wearing disaster masks, Hand Ghost laughed mockingly, and then said, "There are actually two little foxes. Is Takizo afraid that I will be hungry this time?" Twitter. After speaking, Hand Ghost laughed again. Bai Yu couldn't stand the ridicule of Hand Ghost, and launched an attack on Hand Ghost without saying a word. The breath of water, the shape of picking, the shadow of water slash. This pick-up type move is a move created by Bai Yu himself in the past 2 years based on the characteristics of the ghost slashing knife and his understanding of swordsmanship and water breathing. Water breath, pick one type, water shadow slash. The user must have a deep understanding and comprehension of the water breath, and reach a certain level of controlling the rhythm of water in order to launch this attack. This attack can attack enemies no more than 50 meters away from you, and this range is the effective attack range of the water shadow slash. I saw that the ghost slashing knife of the white feather scabbard was instantly unsheathed, and then returned to the sheath, and a sharp water blade was cut towards the neck of Hand Ghost. Hand Ghost did not expect that Bai Yu could attack him without getting close to him, so in surprise, he quickly moved his huge body, and at the same time controlled the arms on his body to protect his neck. In this way, Bai Yu's attack only cut off a few insignificant arms of Hand Ghost. Watching Bai Yu use a move that he couldn't do, Tanjiro was deeply taken aback. Tanjiro is well aware of what Taki taught him recently. The basic moves of the breath of water are only 10 forms, and as for the subsequent moves, only when they reach a certain level of their own realm, they can create their own moves through their own understanding of the breath of water and their own habits. Unexpectedly, Bai Yu had already created his own 11th type in just 2 years of study. Tanjiro's worship of the white feather was completely engraved into the bottom of his heart at this time. It's a hard laugh. Don't let me hear you laughing again, or I'll kill you. Bai Yu said coldly. Chapter 43. Listening to Bai Yu's very domineering words, Hand Ghost suddenly became angry. You bug! You actually dare to talk to me in this tone? Sure enough, Takizo's apprentice just made me extremely disgusted. Hand Ghost said angrily. Just as Hand Ghost is about to regenerate its severed arm, it finds that its wound seems to be unable to heal quickly. What's going on? How could my wound not heal? What have you done to me? Hand Ghost was a little frightened. It turns out that you are also a coward. Scared? Bai Yu did not explain anything to Hand Ghost, but continued to taunt. Abominable! I'm going to slaughter you. Slaughter you. Unforgivable. Unforgivable. Hand Ghost's emotions began to spiral out of control. The out-of-control Hand Ghost suddenly swallowed the surrounding ghost madly into the stomach, and the other ghosts saw Hand Ghost even eat their own people mercilessly, and immediately began to scatter. Bai Yu did not stop those ghosts who ran away in order to survive, because now is not the time to deal with them. Since they ran away, it is still a good thing for Bai Yu, and if these ghosts unite, it will be the biggest bad thing. The ghost who did not run away suddenly became the nourishment for Hand Ghost to become stronger, and Hand Ghost ate more than a dozen ghosts in just a few seconds. Although ghosts mainly eat people, there will be times when they eat their own kind. Just like the situation at this time, in order to solve the weird white feather more safely, Hand Ghost can only choose to eat the same kind to become more powerful. But under normal circumstances, ghosts will not choose to eat the same kind. After all, everyone is the same kind, there is no need to kill each other. The most important thing is that eating people is much easier than eating ghosts, and if you eat ghosts, you may be eaten back. After absorbing more than a dozen ghosts, the body became more deformed, the body size also skyrocketed, and the number of arms on the body also increased a lot. Even the wounds that would not heal just now healed in an instant. Twitter Hand Ghost, whose strength had been enhanced, sneered proudly again, and Bai Yu suddenly felt a little unhappy. Tanjiro, find a place to hide, look for a chance to kill with one hit, this disgusting guy will be dealt with by me for the time being. Bai Yu didn't talk any more nonsense and ordered Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro didn't have any opinion on this, and then reminded Bai Yu, Senior Bai Yu, then you be careful. The reason why Shiraiha said this was naturally to give Tanjiro a chance to perform, if Tanjiro could find a chance before he could solve the ghost himself. If Hand Ghost is not enhanced by devouring the same kind, Hakuba will not let Tanjiro hide, but will leave Tanjiro alone to face Hand Ghost, and he will solve all ghosts except Hand Ghost. It's just that the development of things exceeded Bai Yu's expectations, and Bai Yu didn't expect Hand Ghost to play such a play. Fortunately, the actions of Hand Ghosts drove away all other ghosts. So Hand Ghost naturally can't deal with Tanjiro now, because Tanjiro has only one result against Hand Ghost in this state, then die. Chapter 44. After Tanjiro finished speaking, he suddenly hid into the woods. Seeing this, an arm on his body was like a sharp arrow, instantly lengthened, and then shot towards Tanjiro's back. Hakuha immediately drew his knife and slashed, and cut off the arm that was attacking Tanjiro. Your enemy now is me. Bai Yu said lightly. You guy. Hand Ghost was so angry by the arrogant white feather that it itched at the root of his teeth. Hand Ghost wanted to tear off Bai Yu's tongue, and then torture him little by little. Go and die. The countless arms on the body of Hand Ghost suddenly shot away at the white feather, and the white feather immediately jumped towards the height, and many of the arms on the Hand Ghost's body hit the ground directly because they didn't have time to change direction, and suddenly burst the ground. The other arm, which had changed direction, shot towards the white feather in midair. The breath of water, the type of the hammer, the tacky pot. Water breath, pound type. Tacky pot is a powerful slash that cuts down from top to bottom. Form, a tapped pot activated by the proficient. The rhythm of water will form a water dragon. The non-proficient person activates the taper pot, and the rhythm of the water forms a powerful flow of water. I saw that Baiyu used the breath of water, the shape of the pound, the taper pot. Baiyu's whole person swung the ghost slashing knife and slashed downward, and the next moment, a blue water dragon was like a dragon going out to sea, biting towards the many flying ghost hands. Everywhere the water dragon went, one ghost hand after another was bitten off. Baiyu's figure also fell sharply towards the ground due to huge inertia, and Baiyu launched another blow in this gap. The breath of water, the second type, the water wheel. I saw that Baiyu's whole person turned in the air, and the ghost slashing knife in his hand drew a circle with the rotation of Baiyu's figure. In the arc cut by the blade, sharp water blades generated by the rhythm of water also appeared. In the end, Baiyu's whole person quickly returned to the ground under the acceleration of the attack. And the white feathers who cut off a large number of Hand Ghost's arms, thinking that the wound could not grow and heal quickly, would lose the opportunity to continue to attack, but did not expect that the wound of Hand Ghost's severed arm grew again under the process of violent squirming and swelling. This situation made Baiyu slightly surprised. Could it be that the characteristics of the ghost slashing knife were invalid? How is the healing power of Hand Ghosts not suppressed at all? Wrong. Baiyu, who was extremely observant, soon noticed something strange, and although the arm of Hand Ghost grew again, it was not completed instantly, but took about 3 seconds. Most importantly, the Hand Ghost does not look very easy to heal the wound. It seems that it is not that the ghost slashing knife does not exert its characteristics, but that the healing power of Hand Ghost is too strong, so the inhibition effect of the ghost slashing knife is extremely weak. Obviously, after eating more than a dozen similar Hand Ghosts at once, he has been upgraded in all aspects. The ghost slashing knife is like this, and the Nikawa knife is even more helpless against these ghost hands. 3 seconds? Tanjiro, 3 seconds, can you catch it? Baiyu muttered in his heart. Although I don't know what kind of magic technique you guys used to make it so difficult for my wounds to heal, but now your magic has no effect on me. Hand Ghost laughed proudly. Chapter 45. Just with your current attack, it can't hurt me at all. Twitter, your end will only be like those apprentices before Takizuoji, becoming the nourishment for me to become stronger. Hand Ghost, after knowing that he was no longer afraid of the suppression of the ghost slashing knife, the whole person returned to the arrogant appearance before. The laughter echoed in the woods, making Baiyu very bored to hear it, and Baiyu suddenly roared coldly, "Less TMD made me laugh. Don't think that's all I have. If I really want to kill you, you don't even have the qualifications to speak. Laugh at your sister's laughter." The reason why Baiyu was so bored was because the laughter of Hand Ghosts was really too ugly, making Baiyu unacceptably ugly. Baiyu was scolding, and his crazy words made Hand Ghost a little frozen. It can be said that among all the people he has contacted in Vine Attack Mountain for so many years, none of them have Baiyu's arrogance. Even if it was the strongest apprentice of Takizo at that time, the boy who almost killed Hand Ghost, he was not as crazy as Baiyu. Give me death. Die. 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 Hand Ghost was once again stimulated by Baiyu's emotions out of control, and suddenly more intensive attacks came towards Baiyu. Baiyu also became serious this time, and the whole person's aura was sank, and then he greeted the large number of ghost hands that attacked. The breath of water, the change of the type of one, the water surface / serial /. When Baiyu's figure was still half a meter away from the ghost hand, Baiyu's whole person suddenly stopped, and then the ghost slashing knife in his hand cut out dozens of knives in a breath. This one-type modification, the water surface serial slash, is a move obtained by Baiyu after making modifications on the basis of one type, and it is another release form of the original move. Compared with the previous surface slash, the water surface serial slash has been greatly improved in the number of knives, but the power has also decreased to a certain extent due to the increase in the number of knives. It can be said that the previous one type, the surface slash, can kill the enemy with one hit. However, the disadvantage is also obvious, that is, it is impossible to continue to launch the second slash. Although the breath of water, the wanton type, and the tide of blows also have a group damage effect, the number of knives and the speed of slashes are not as much and fast as the breath of water modified by Baiyu himself, and the type of one is changed, and the water surface slash is more and faster. The focus of the strike tide is to kill the enemy, and even if you are proficient, you can hit up to 5 targets at the same time. Therefore, using the tide of blows cannot cope with the extremely dense attack mode of hand ghost. The focus of the surface slash series is containment, and the proficient can swing dozens of slashes in a short period of time to parry the enemy's dense attacks. Of course, if you use a surface serial slash on a single target, the terrifying knife technique can also achieve the effect of killing the enemy. In just a few seconds of confrontation, Baiyu had already swung nearly 40 slashes. Such a dense slash made Baiyu's physical strength consume extremely quickly, and Baiyu's arm was also subjected to a great load. It can be said that if the load is a little bigger, even Baiyu's hand will have to be scrapped. Tanjiro, can you take the opportunity in 3 seconds? Baiyu couldn't help but muttered in his heart. If Tanjiro can't seize this opportunity, then Tanjiro will never have another chance, because Shiraiha can't use the one-type modification twice in a row, and the water surface slash is a series of slashes. Chapter 46. Hand Ghost looked at his attack and couldn't help Baiyu, and couldn't help but feel afraid of Baiyu in his heart. However, although Hand Ghost knew that he could not help Baiyu, Baiyu could not help it. If it is consumed like this, the final loss must be Baiyu, because Baiyu's physical strength is limited, but for Ghost, it is not affected by this. As long as Baiyu has no physical strength, the final outcome will be the same as the little ghost before, becoming his own nourishment for becoming stronger. Twitter thinking of this, Hand Ghost couldn't help but laugh secretly. Soon, all the arms on the body of the Hand Ghost were all cut off by Baiyu, and Baiyu's attack stopped. At this time, Baiyu's breathing was slightly heavy, but he still maintained the frequency that water breathing should have. The right hand holding the ghost slashing knife was hanging down due to temporary detachment, and the most important thing was that the hanging arm was a little trembling. And Tanjiro, who had been hiding in a nearby tree, witnessed everything in the duel between Baiyu and Hand Ghost just now, and saw that Baiyu could face such a dense attack, but he could still deal with it with ease. Such a strength is really much stronger than himself. The self-confidence that had originally found a little before gradually dissipated under the display of Baiyu's strength. Just when Tanjiro began to lose his confidence, what Haku had said to him echoed in Tanjiro's mind again. Then, Tanjiro suddenly woke up to the fact that he had never been denied in front of Shiraiha's predecessor and his master Takizuoji, since Takizuoji, who was stronger than himself, and Shiraiha, both affirmed their strength. Then what did they have to doubt themselves? Tanjiro, it's up to you to see what you do. If you can't take this opportunity, then I'll have to use my final hole card. Baiyu, whose hands had lost their strength, couldn't help but start counting down. 3, 2, with Baiyu's countdown, Hand Ghost's severed arm also began to slowly regrow. Hand Ghost did not expect that Baiyu actually cut off all its arms, so that it would take a little time to recover. At this time, Hand Ghost, because there is no hand, the whole look is like a deformed meatball. Hand Ghost saw Baiyu standing quietly in place, and his right arm kept trembling. It knew that Baiyu was now at the end of the crossbow, so it laughed proudly. Ha ha ha! Twitter laughing and laughing, Hand Ghost's laughter couldn't help but sharpen into ridicule. It's now. At this moment, Tanjiro jumped out of the tree, and the whole person flashed towards Hand Ghost with a strong killing intent. Water Breath, 1 type, Water Surface Slash. The moment Tanjiro approached Temoku, the Nikki knife in Tanjiro's hand swung towards Igoku's neck. In the face of the sudden killing of Tanjiro, Hand Ghost suddenly panicked, wanting to dodge and counterattack, but because it was now a meatball at this time, it couldn't make any movements at all. Soon, Tanjiro's Nikoro knife slashed at Hand Ghost's neck, and when Tanjiro originally thought that the Hakuwa knife could cut off Hand Ghost's neck with the trend, the blade did not cut Hand Ghost's neck. Give me death! Tanjiro suddenly drank heavily, and immediately his arm exerted strength again. Dang! Click! With the crisp sound of metal, the blade of the Nikki knife broke unexpectedly at this critical moment. Chapter 47. Tanjiro didn't expect that his Nikawa knife actually broke, and he lost his mind the next moment. Twitter, my neck has been specially strengthened by me, your knife is broken, there is no chance. Hand Ghost saw Tanjiro's Nikki knife, and immediately began to enjoy the joy of victory, as if Shiraba and Tanjiro had completely become its plate. Baiyu saw Tanjiro's Nikwe knife breaking, and without too much hesitation, he threw his ghost-slashing knife directly. Tanjiro, go on! Baiyu reminded. Tanjiro looked at the ghost-slashing knife flying towards him, and immediately reached out to take it. Seeing this, the expression of enjoying victory froze at once. I won't let you get away with it. Hand Ghost laughed, so he struggled to condense an arm. The arm clenched into a fist and slammed into Tanjiro's head quickly. This move was the last blow that killed the strongest disciple of Izuku that year, because the boy at that time, like Tanjiro, broke the blade after the Nikwe knife slashed into the neck of Hand Ghost. So Hand Ghost wants to use the same method to kill Tanjiro with one blow. Go and die! Hand Ghost said bitterly. Tanjiro looked at the ghost hand that was coming towards him, and did not have any fear or panic, but took a deep breath and took the initiative to hit the ghost hand's fist with his forehead. Bang! Only a muffled sound was heard, and Tanjiro's forehead collided with the ghost hand fist. Tanjiro's advantage was revealed at this time, and Hand Ghost's fist did not cause damage to Tanjiro. And Tanjiro immediately turned around and grabbed Shiraiha's ghost-slashing knife into his hands. Then, Tanjiro used the ghost hand as a horizontal bar, then held the ghost hand and swung it, and it fell on the ghost hand. Finally, Tanjiro approaches the neck of Igoku along the Oni hand. Water Breath, 1 type, Water Surface Slash. Tanjiro took Shiraba's ghost-slashing knife and once again launched the breath of water, the type of 1, the Water Surface Slash. The next moment, Hakuha's ghost-slashing knife fell on Hand Ghost's neck again under the use of Tanjiro. It's useless. You can't hurt me the first time, and the result is the same the second time. Ha 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 ha! With the first result, Taigo did not panic in the slightest this time, because it felt that even if Tanjiro was given a second chance, the result would not change. This time, I'm going to pinch your head completely. Just like that guy. You don't have a chance. This time, I will not betray the trust that Senior Baiyu has placed in me. Tanjiro has the conviction that this blow will kill. Under Tanjiro's firm belief and the extremely sharp blessing of the ghost-slashing knife, Shiraiha's ghost-slashing knife cut into the neck of Hand Ghost when Tanjiro's words fell, and at the same time stirred up bursts of splashes. How is it possible? The Hand Ghost, who felt the blade cut into his neck, immediately panicked. Go and die! Tanjiro roared. At the moment of splashing, the extremely sharp blade of the ghost-slashing knife cleanly cut off the head of Hand Ghost. Tanjiro, who cut off the neck of the Hand Ghost, fell to the ground at a gallop due to the acceleration of gravity. The head of the Hand Ghost broke away from the torso and tumbled to the ground due to gravity. It's over. Chapter 48. The tense atmosphere immediately eased. Tanjiro successfully beheaded Hand Ghost, which in Baiyu's opinion was completely expected. Because Baiyu has confidence in Tanjiro's strength and his own ghost-slashing knife, Tanjiro's Nikki knife will break before. It is completely because the strength of the knife itself is not enough, and it is not that Tanjiro's operation has a problem. If Hand Ghost hadn't devoured a large number of similar species and strengthened, Tanjiro's first blow would definitely have cut off Hand Ghost's neck. Because Tanjiro can even cut off a boulder, even if Hand Ghost deliberately strengthens the hardness of his neck, it is far less hard than that boulder. Hand Ghost dropped head, the expression shows unwillingness and anger. Abominable, hateful, the body is destroyed and disappeared little by little, so unwilling. Because of the fatal blow, the huge body of Hand Ghost began to gradually collapse and dissipate. After cutting off the head of the Hand Ghost, Tanjiro's expression suddenly became amiable again. The sad smell in the air made Tanjiro couldn't help but sigh, what a sad smell. God! Please, the next time this person is reincarnated, don't let it become a ghost again. Please. I saw that Tanjiro was standing in front of the disappearing huge body of Hand Ghost, holding the ghost hand that was dying and unwilling to dissipate, and prayed. As Tanjiro finished praying, Hand Ghost's body and head completely dissipated from this world. Baiyu quietly looked at Tanjiro, who prayed for the afterlife for Ghost, and Baiyu didn't want to say anything more about Tanjiro's affection, because Tanjiro's personality is like this. After a short rest, Baiyu's hands gradually eased up. Baiyu then walked towards Tanjiro, and then came to him and praised, Tanjiro did a good job. Senior Baiyu. Tanjiro looked at Shiraiha and exclaimed, then revealed a faint smile similar to Shiraiha's. It seems that he has been with Baiyu for a long time, and even his smile is somewhat similar to Baiyu. Your knife, Senior Baiyu. Tanjiro returned the ghost-slashing knife to Shiraiha. After Baiyu took the ghost-slashing knife, he said, Tanjiro, the Nikki knife that the master gave you is broken, and then you can obediently stay in a safe place, and I will leave the rest to me. Senior Baiyu, do you still want to kill ghosts? Tanjiro asked. Baiyu nodded, although the most powerful hand ghost of the Vine Attack Mountain has been solved, but Baiyu's task has not been completed, and there are many ghosts who escaped just now waiting for Baiyu to clean up. Don't worry. The most powerful ghost in Fuji Attack Mountain has been solved for you, and the rest of the goods that are not in the flow will not threaten me. Baiyu continued. Then I'll wait for you to come back. Tanjiro also did not interfere with Shiraiha's choice, nor did he choose to join Shiraiha, because his Nikawa knife was damaged. If Tanjiro's Nikawa knife hadn't been damaged, Tanjiro might have chosen to go with Hakuba to kill Oniai. Without the Nikwe saber, no matter how powerful Tanjiro is, he can't do any damage to the ghosts. Even if you follow Baiyu, it can't help. Soon, Shiraiha and Tanjiro separated again. Baiyu seized the remaining time and continued to complete his cleaning task according to the prompts of the minimap. Chapter 49. After separating from Shiraiha, Tanjiro walked down the mountain. On the way, Tanjiro also bumped into my wife Zenji, who was thrown out by Shiraiha and was fainting. Tanjiro hurriedly stepped forward to my wife, Zenji, and then leaned against the tree trunk. Looking at my wife Zenyi, Tanjiro laughed helplessly, this guy is also hidden deep enough. If it weren't for my wife Zenyi, it is estimated that Tanjiro would not have been able to make it to the White Feathers at all. Shanyi. Wake up. Are you okay? Tanjiro gently patted my wife's face. Awakened by Tanjiro, my wife Zenji raised her eyebrows, and then slowly opened her eyes. Tanjiro, did you save me? My wife Shanyi's vision was a little blurry, and after recognizing the person in front of her, Tanjiro, she slowly asked. At this time, my wife Shanyi felt incomparably sore everywhere in her body, and her body had no strength. No, it was Senior Baiyu who saved us. Tanjiro replied. Is it? That's great. My wife said with relief. Shanyi, Can you go by yourself? We have to get out of here quickly and go to a safe place to wait for Baiyu Sr. Tanjiro asked again. My wife Shanyi tried to move, but found that her body had lost her strength and she could not stand up for the time being. My wife Shanyi had to shake her head helplessly and said, Tanjiro, I don't seem to be able to stand up. Am I going to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair? I'm not married yet. Say what? You guess you should be out of strength, I'd better carry you away. Tanjiro saw that my wife Zenji was starting to talk blindly again, and he showed a wry smile. After that, Tanjiro stopped talking nonsense, and ran towards the bottom of the Fuji attack mountain with my wife Zenji on his back. In the process, Tanjiro bumps into the boy with his feet again. Because of his foot, and was directly thrown out by Baiyu, the speed of that young man's action was very slow. And just like that, the three got together again. Seeing that neither Tanjiro nor my wife Zenai were killed, the young man knew that Hakuba should have defeated those ghosts. Remembering the batch of ghost groups at that time, the young man with his feet still had palpitations. How strong is Baiyu to smooth out such a situation? Are you all right? That's great. My name is Shinji Murata, I can survive, and I have to thank you and your senior brother. The young man named Murata Shinji was full of emotion because he escaped from death. I don't want to see you in trouble either, Shinji. Officially, my name is Tanjiro Stoveman, and on my back is my wife Zenji. Tanjiro also introduced himself and my wife Zenji to Shinji Murata. Murata Shinji looked at my wife Zenji and recalled the outbreak of my wife Zenji at the moment of crisis, and Murata Shinji no longer looked down on this timid teenager. Because of the situation at that time, if it were not for the outbreak of my wife Shanyi, it is estimated that the three would not have been able to survive the arrival of Baiyu. Therefore, the survival of the three of them was fought by Tanjiro and my wife Zenai. Shinji, do you have a sister or sister at home that is your age? Can you introduce me to me? My wife, Zenji, asked Shinji Murata. Hearing this, Tanjiro and Murata Shinji both looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Both of them know the thoughts of my wife Shanyi, and this guy has been shouting about his unmarried and unwilling to die on the way to find Baiyu. Unexpectedly, he actually hit the idea on Shinji Murata now. I don't know what to say. Chapter 50. Shanyi, I'm sorry. I have only 2 children at home, my brother and I. My brother's name is Shinichi Murata, and he joined the Ghost Killer team through the Ghost Killer team selection a few years ago. Shinji Murata explained the situation to my wife Zenji, and introduced his brother in passing. Then your brother is really powerful. I can actually pass the assessment. If it weren't for Tanjiro and Hakuba's seniors in this assessment, I guess I would really have died here. My wife Shanyi sighed. Hearing this, Tanjiro and Murata Shinji both thought that my wife Zenji was playing pig and eating tiger. The strength of my wife Zenji, Tanjiro and Murata Shinji have both seen, and the ghost who died at the hands of my wife Zenji at that time, roughly, there should be more than 10. With such a record, it is actually said that no White Feather and Tanjiro will die, which deceives people who do not know. If it weren't for Baiyu's sweep, the ghost of Fuji Attack Mountain would definitely not have assembled on the scale tonight. Therefore, under normal circumstances, the strength shown by my wife Shanyi is absolutely no problem surviving 7 days in Fuji Raid Mountain. Tanjiro and Murata Shinji both felt that my wife Zenji was deliberately pretending to be weak, so neither of them planned to tear down his platform. By the way, what about Tanjiro Shiraiha-senpai? My wife Shanyi then noticed that Senior Baiyu was not with their group. Hearing this, Murata Shinji noticed that Baiyu was not present, so he was also curious in his heart, what did Baiyu go for? Senior Baiyu, he continues to kill ghosts. According to last night's trend, Senior Baiyu should be planning to sweep away all the ghosts on the Vine Attack Mountain. Tanjiro didn't hide anything and told my wife Yoji and Shinji Murata where Shiraiha had gone. Hearing this, Murata Shinji was sincerely in awe of Baiyu, how much hatred Baiyu has with Ghost. I have to say that to have strength is to be willful, and you can do whatever you want. After that, the three of them came to a forest marked by the white feather, which was the safe area marked by the white feather, and the three of them stopped trekking and chose to rest here for the time being. And as soon as the hand ghost died, Baiyu became a nightmare for the ghost of the vine attack mountain, and the ghost who survived no longer came out to hunt, but chose to wait for the selection to be over, so as to send away the great god Baiyu. So this night's hunt turned into a peekaboo. Fortunately, Baiyu has a small map prompt, so it is relatively easy to find Ghost. However, compared to last night, tonight's efficiency is indeed much lower, because the places where ghosts hide are relatively secret, remote, and extremely scattered. In the following days, Tanjiro, my wife Zanayashi, and Murata Shinji met the army again, and after a few days of recuperation, the spirits and complexions of these teenagers improved a lot. Because these days I have not encountered Ghost, the shadow caused by Ghost has also faded a lot. Seeing Tanjiro, my wife Zenji, and Murata Shinji appear in front of them again, these teenagers showed a hint of surprise. These teenagers who stayed in the safe zone, listened to the first few people who fled back to tell what happened to Tanjiro, and seeing that Tanjiro and the others did not return on the same day, they thought that Tanjiro was killed. But now they actually returned.